Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Captain's Recap. I am your host, of course, Captain B-Nard, and of course, this week we are going to be taking a look at the Battle Hub Draft League Season 7, Weeks 7 and 8. This is what looks to be, I think, the final check in of this mini series of check ins here in Season 7 of the Battle Hub Draft League. And my guest this time, as you can tell by the thumbnail, of course, is going to be the very owner of the Battle Hub Draft League himself and former two-time champion and former guest on the Captain's Recap as well. We have none other than Scorpion. I think that's how you say that in Dutch, but maybe it's not. I don't know. But anyway, welcome aboard.
Not at all, but thank you for welcoming me. What's going on, everyone? My name is Scorpion, and indeed, we are here to discuss all the action of Battle Hub Draft League Season 7, of course, week 7 and 8 here. And it was a bit of a dark era for the Leaf Agents, I'm not going to lie. We haven't had the most successful weeks here recently, but obviously we'll get to that. But yeah, thank you for having me, of course. We're here to talk numbers, we're here to talk nuances. So yeah, I'm excited. Let's get it. And before I begin, the way you actually say that word in Dutch is schorpioen, but I wish you good luck pronouncing that.
All right, thanks, man. I was wondering about that, but because the way things are spelled are not always the way they are pronounced. So,
No,
um,
absolutely not.
but thanks for clearing that up. So, yes, having
You're
said
welcome.
all of that, thanks for coming on because you've definitely done. I know you've said it's been a rough patch these past couple of weeks, and indeed it has. But historically, you've done quite well here in the draft league, and so I definitely appreciate your insights into the games. So. We are going to go ahead and, without further ado, start looking at these big week 7 and 8 games, winding down the season, of course. Only 1 week left at this point. So, these games pretty important for most teams, as you can imagine. So,
Absolutely.
all right. So, looking at our week 7 games here, we have our results right here on the screen as well, and we're just going to kind of go from top to bottom down the list. And so the first game, as I mentioned before, I started to notice a pattern here, and that's it seems like Stefan's game is always the first game on the list. I'm not sure why, but yeah,
But I can tell you why you want it. You have the owner's insight
yes,
right here.
yes. Let's get the owner's insight to this.
Yep, absolutely. So it's very, very simple, actually. You may have noticed that Stefan was first pick in the season. And of course, so the schedule in the season is always randomly generated. And the way I randomly generate is I just put all the seeds in and then it just puts them all in a random order. But because Stefan is first seed, it always like the first thing it does is it puts the first seed against someone else. And then it gives you the rest of the matchups. And those are usually in random order. But because the first seed is always first put up against someone else and then the rest of the matchups come, that's why Stefan is always in. And I mean, I could switch it up and like mix it out a little bit, but I just didn't really want to do that. So that's why
Cause
Stefan is
why?
first. There you go.
Yeah,
Mystery solved.
Cause what? Cause why waste your time doing that? But yes, thank you for solving that
Exactly.
mystery. I think I forget who it might have been. Emerald when I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago. He might have floated that, or maybe it was King Burra last time. I don't remember, but somebody floated that idea as to why that was, and yeah, I thought that made sense, but um, the other idea that I had was hashtag rigged, but we won't go into that. So
Well, maybe
anyway,
it's BHDL,
so
so
it's always an open question. But
exactly.
yes, so as far as the actual game here, Stefan versus Emerald Miner, Week 7. Neither of these coaches been having the best of season. Quite honestly, they've both been kind of struggling to gain traction. In this season, but as you can see by the results, it was in fact Emerald Miner who scored a huge 5-0 victory over Stefan here, and this game was more of like the Emerald of old, I think, in my opinion, because Emerald in particular has struggled to gain traction in this season like no other, which was kind of a shock to most, I would say, because he's usually very, very consistent. But he did kind of, in my mind anyway, bring the Emerald of old back in this game, scoring this big victory. Iron Moth putting in the work and even snagging a couple of kills with the Electros as well. So
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's really interesting you mentioned that, like the Emerald of all, because in this one, we really got to see that through his plays as well. Like this game was a lot of Emerald strategically out positioning his opponent. He had a lot of really cool techs, and like he kind of he kept up like constant switch initiative throughout the game almost. He had this Electros, which was pivoting around all over the place. He had a very interesting tech off lead as well. I believe he had like if I remember correctly, he had like a Rindo Berry lead Quagsire with counter to like absorb a Meowscarada Flower Trick and one shot it. It didn't actually work out that way, but he still managed to get a pretty big counter on the Fortress early.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely a big showing of like Emerald outpositioning his opponent, like the Assault Vest Iron Treads for the Glamora, so it couldn't ever spin. Um, and it was really difficult for Stefan to like gain some footing. And obviously Meowscarada, I don't remember what set it was, but obviously with that speed, it was very difficult to prevent that thing from getting at least one KO, especially because it outspeeds all the Pokemon that Emerald has.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was really like Prime Emerald once again, where Stefan kind of like kept getting outpositioned, and like Latias tried to agility up, but then was immediately forced out by Sylveon again. So yeah, just lost the momentum there again. So it was really tough for Stefan for sure.
Yeah, as we tend to say a lot, Pokemon is a game of momentum, right? So, um, if you can keep the momentum on your side, and that's exactly what Emerald did in this game, I think, um, you're gonna have a good time of it, and like obviously pivoting is a big part of that. So, so yeah, pivoting, positioning, momentum, all the checking all the boxes, as it were. So.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, so having said that, we're going to move along to our next game here, and this was actually your game, Scorpion, as you took on the Abomination himself. So, and since this is your game, I will let you kind of take the lead and go into kind of the what were your thoughts going into this match, and then how the game actually played out from your perspective.
Of course, yeah. So this is probably the biggest like story-heavy game of this week for me, at least anyway, right? Because like obviously that tends to happen in BHDL when we play so many seasons with each other. And Al and I had a pretty long-standing rivalry before this game. We played each other 3 times before this, twice in season 4, once in season 5.
Yeah,
Last 2 times were both playoff games in which I knocked him out. And Al was not happy about that, to say the least.
indeed.
I know he really wanted to win this game. And like it was a pretty big game for him. As even like at the start of the season when he saw that I was on his schedule in week 7, he was like explicitly looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Um, but of course, I still always wanted to win as well because it was an important game for me, and yeah, I really tried my best. So, but it really kind of came down, I think, this game to Al wanted it more. Now, I will say there was a couple of things against me this game. First of all, I had a horrendous, and I mean absolutely abysmal matchup into Terra Ice Jolteon. I knew that from the start going into this game, and Al said after the game it took him all of 5 seconds to put that Pokemon on his team in the team builder. I had a like Terra Electric Assault Vest Iron Crown to be able to deal with that. I had a Yachi Berry Landorus. I had a relatively bulky Entei, all to try and take hits and force a trade on it. And it still got 2 kills and never died itself. And so it was really tough to deal with.
yeah.
Um, just in general, this game, like it's really tough for me to look back on it because like I don't necessarily think I played badly. I don't really regret any of my decisions in prep. I thought the sets that I brought were pretty all right, but I just got like heavily again outpositioned. He had me caught in a really nasty Volturn core. The Life of Whimsicott, which as you can see got 2 kills, it really kind of forced damage on Iron Crown early, which led to me being way too weak to take on Jolteon later.
Hmm.
He had a really smart Citrus Berry Corviknight to stay out of 2 KO range from Urshifu Single Strike, which is my primary way of forcing progress this game. And yeah, it was really difficult. I also got a couple Parahaxed a couple times on Entei, so I missed the kill on the Slowking that way. So yeah, like all these little small factors came around and made the game really difficult for me. Now, again, to Al's credit, there was a little bit of hacks, not too much. Al played this game phenomenally. Like he really played it amazing. I have no other way of going about this game. Um, I just wish to congratulate him for playing that well. And this is why Al is like always one of my favorites to win the season because he's an incredibly talented coach. And him wanting to win this game as badly as it did, it really came out. So yeah, again, I think we both fought hard despite me getting wrecked 4-0. I still honestly think this is a good game. And yeah, Al played it exceptionally well. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all of that. Hacks aside, because yeah, there was definitely a little bit of that with the para hacks for sure. But I do think like the to me when I look at what happened at this game, it's I hesitate to say this in one way, but in another way, I it is what I feel about Pokemon, and that is that time is your best friend as far as like when you're in draft leagues. So the more time that you can dedicate to preparing for a game and developing your strategy, and like if you can just, at least that's the way I look at it, if you can just figure out like everything before the game, then you're going to be in a good position. And you can tell by how this game went that Al spent many a sleepless night preparing for this game. I think like this was like his finals, I think, in my opinion. Like
Oh, probably.
he was dialed in. Like he was like, I cannot lose to this guy again. So and this similar thing happened, I believe, with in week 1 with Zeus, actually, when he was still around. Al had a similar feeling about that game as he did about this game, except I think in this game it was an even more intense feeling because there had been those instances where he had been knocked out by you in the past, and so he really put his best foot forward here, and I give him all the credit in the world for that because he really dialed in, he locked down, and he made the right calls. His prep was great, and he got it done. And like that's why I say I think time is your best friend. Can be either your best friend or your worst enemy in draft league, because if you have the time, you can meticulously plan everything about what you bring to the game. You can dial in your strategy. Okay, if this happens, I'm going to do this. If that happens, I'm going to do that. And he did that 100%, and the results show, I think. And I give him credit for it. I do. I agree with you. It may sound generic, but it is true. The he wanted it more line, but it really is true. He this game meant everything to him. This meant the world to him, as you can see, and he dialed him, and you got like the best version of Al that you possibly could have in this game. And the best version of him is it's a hell of a thing to try to beat. I will say that. So,
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely. And what also didn't exactly help, and of course I'm not making excuses because I honestly feel like I would have lost this game anyway,
yeah.
but I also played this game after like a near 10-hour work day, of
Ah,
course, on
yeah.
a Friday, so that obviously didn't help.
Yeah.
And yeah, like when I look at my prep, I thought it was strong. I like the sets that I have. I don't regret anything there. But when you look at Al's set, uh, he had like a Chople Berry Play Rough Ursaluna. It's a 1v1 Urshifu. He had this quick feed Terra Ice Jolteon, which meant that I couldn't outspeed it with anything, so I could only take it on defensively because it was faster than everything else. He had a Citrus Berry Corviknight to stay out of Wicked Blow to a KO range. He had a freaking Life Orb Whimsicott to chip down Iron Crown for a Jolteon endgame. It's like, how was I supposed to take on all that, you know?
And that was his plan, is you weren't supposed to be able to take on all that.
Yeah, no,
He's
absolutely.
he
So
had
yeah,
yes,
hats off.
he was dialed
Hats off
in.
to Al. He played incredible, and I have nothing. I have nothing but even more respect to him as a player after this game.
Fair enough, absolutely. All right, so moving on from that one, that is going to bring us to Kingborough versus Lazy Boy. So this is an interesting one as well, because there's a lot of, and I failed to mention it with Al versus Scorpion, because you guys both have been having pretty solid seasons. Um, there have been a lot of coaches that have been having more kind of like up and down seasons in a sense, and I think with especially with Kingborough versus Lazy Boy, and we'll get into more of this when we hit next week. But I think Kingborough has, kind of started off having a great season, and then he kind of got into a little bit of a slump. Lazy Boy, kind of the exact opposite. He started out, well, he was a replacement coach for the aforementioned Zeus, as we said, and he kind of started out in kind of a slump, trying to find himself, like find the team, and it's always difficult coming in as a replacement coach because you have someone else's team and you have to try to work with it. Um, but he made some transactions and he seemed like he finally found his footing, and he has really been on a tear as of late. And as you can see, he ended up taking a huge 4-0 victory over Kingborough in this game, and it was really that gouging fire. Shout out to the Pokemon most famous for creating the heal Emerald moment, gouging fire. All the way back then, Emerald would have been proud of the gouging fire performance in this game, snagging 4 kills. Not quite, a sweep because it did end up going down itself, but just an incredible showing by both Lazy Boy and the gouging fire in this one.
Absolutely, and it's interesting as well because when you look at King Barra's team, like on paper, so he brought like Golden Go, Latios, Toxapex, Great Tusk, Kilowatt, Clefable, right? When
Hmm.
you look at that lineup, you really don't expect Gouging Fire to be like that amazing, especially because like Great Tusk is literally about as good as it gets to like textbook answers to Gouging Fire. And
Yep.
then there's also a potentially unaware Clefable, which granted it does get hit by 120 base power Heat Crash, I'm pretty sure, but you can
Yeah.
still ignore Dragon Down's boosts. There's also a Toxapex on that side, which can easily take even boosted Earthquakes and poison you or haze your boosts.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, that did happen like literally multiple times this game. The Dragon Down's boosts were hazed away.
Yeah.
But Lazy Boy kind of, it's interesting, right? Because Lazy Boy kind of had this, I almost want to say like textbook hyper offense set up this week where he had like a screen Sableye and then this, I think it was Booster Energy Gouging Fire.
Yeah.
And it really like came into like Dragon Downs multiple times a game. And like eventually after like multiple setup attempts, the team, King Barra's team eventually just collapsed, I feel like. And then
Yeah.
I think it was towards the end that Hatterene ended up sweeping up the ashes. But that's really kind of what happened in this game, and it was really difficult for King Barat to get momentum back, especially because that Sableye just kept coming in and kept getting up the screen. Like I think, again, this obviously it was week 7, so it's a while ago since I watched this game, but I'm pretty sure that Lazy Boy got at least like he got screened up twice this game, right? Which is like 14 turns where your opponent has
Yep.
half or sorry, doubled defenses and special defenses. So that's
Yeah.
miserable.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. Try to make progress on that board, right? It's not not happening.
exactly.
Um,
So that was really, really tough, and I really feel like just Lazy Boy kind of overwhelmed King Brass team in that way, in a sense.
I do agree with you. Yes, he did. And it's funny because this kind of reminds me of a point that I like to make when we do like the team analysis videos and everything. One thing that I always say is that, okay, when it comes to hazard removal, if you're going to have only one hazard remover on your team and it has to be either a spinner or a defogger, I always say I think it should be a defogger. And the main reason that I say that is because of situations like this, where if you have either you don't have a defogger or you don't bring a defogger, you are at the mercy of, in a lot of cases, not being able to get rid of screens if your opponent sets them. Now I understand there's like Psychic Fangs and Brick Break and stuff like that, but those are sometimes answers to that problem for sure, but they are, can be potentially more inconvenient answers, especially the Brick Break thing.
Yeah,
Um,
Brick Break is really tough to fit on a lot of moves because it's so weak.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, Psychic Fang is a little better, but yeah, Brick Break is a rough decision to have to choose to run Brick Break because you're afraid of screens. That's for sure. But yeah, this is a big reason why I advocate defog as a removal move over Rapid Spin, is just because when your opponent sets those screens, not do that half damage for, especially with the light clay, it is brutal to try and play through that a lot of times. And I think that a lot of the opportunities that Lazy Boy had in this game was because of that. And so yeah, it really worked out in his favor. So it makes like slogging the fight out a lot harder when your moves are doing 50% less damage. So but Lazy Boy
Sure.
definitely did a good job of kind of like, I do agree with what you said. Lazy Boy did a good job of kind of um, slogging it out, and eventually Kingborough's team just kind of like it had enough essentially. Like there were no answers left in the tank. Like he saved himself as many times as he could, and then it just got to a point where he couldn't save himself one more time, and it just, like you said, the Hatterene came up and finished everything off. But Yeah, it's this is what happens sometimes. Sometimes you find yourself caught in that loop, and there's not a lot you can do to get out of it. So, but
Indeed.
definitely. So moving on from that, we are going to come to what I believe was the closest game of the week here, and that is going to be Twisted Games versus RK Niner. So,
It's
um,
interesting you say that. I hope you don't mind if I interrupt you for a
sure.
moment. Why was this week just blowout week?
Yes, I
Like,
was
look at
gonna.
the results.
Yes, that is a good point, and I was gonna. You're absolutely right. Like that was something I was thinking about because I remember that um, in the first few weeks, one pattern that I picked up on was the fact that um, nobody was getting blown out. Right, for probably like a good first half of the season, I want to say, like the first maybe 3, 4, maybe even 5 weeks. Like there really weren't like barely any, if any, blowout games, especially like the
Oh no, not at all.
yeah, and this week, like holy shit, like all the 4-0s, 5-0s, like it was a crazy week, and if you think this week was crazy, just wait till next week. So,
I was gonna say it doesn't get any better like next week. Spoiler alert.
no, it does not. So, but in this one, you can see that it was in fact Twisted Games that took a narrow 2-0 victory over RK9er. Two coaches that have kind of been struggling this season a little bit to gain any traction. So definitely a very even matchup in my opinion. Um, but you can see on the one side we had the Screamtail that put in quite a bit of work actually versus the Toxic Orb Zangoose made its return here and put some work in for RK9er, I believe, but unfortunately it was not enough to weather the storm of Twisted and what he had going on with the Screamtail. The Annihilate came in at the end and kind of finished things off, but
Yeah, absolutely. It was a rough game. I didn't really like the offensive screamtail in this one actually, because I think
yeah,
most coaches who have faced Arcanine this season kind of picked up on a pattern where Arcanine I don't know, I think we said the same thing in the power rankings where we did notice a kind of fundamental fairy weakness on his team, right?
yep,
And this week he did not bring any fairy resists, nor did he bring any terror types that resist fairy. So offensive screamtail really had the opportunity to kind of do what it did. Now, of course, Screamtail not the strongest Pokemon offensively, but it's still another thing that's worth mentioning is that if it's outside of booster energy, or sorry, I guess it does not outspeed Iron Valley naturally, but it does obviously live any one hit from Iron Valley and KO it back. And
yeah,
Garchomp and Hisui and Saramot are outsped, so that was definitely a great choice of a bring. Terra Normal Zangoose definitely went crazy in this game a little bit as well because I think Bronzong did go down a little bit early in this game. And then after that, kind of Terra Normal Facade and Quick Attack, especially Quick Attack, actually came in really, really clutch for Arcanine. So it was really, really cool to see Zangoose put in some work as well.
yeah,
But yeah, this is definitely like if I look at this matchup, even like looking at the Pokemon that were brought, I can almost kind of see how it progressed in a way because like you look at Arcanine side and it's like there's very little switch-ins to a Raging Bolt Draco Meteor. There's very little switch-ins to Screamtail in general, you know? So it's like if Twisted can just um, get the momentum going once, it's really difficult for Arcanine to kind of get it back.
yeah,
And also, kind of interesting thing I noted as well in this game is that the Thunderous did not get any KOs, which like Arcanata has been playing that thing so aggressively this season, bringing like the stab terras and like throwing off choice specs terra blast flying. So
yeah.
I honestly like props to Twisted for not letting any of his mons fall to that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I'm definitely no stranger to the idea of like if you sometimes you're in a position where you only really have like one realistic check to something, right? And you're kind of leaning heavily on that one check throughout the game, and if it goes down, then you're in serious trouble. And you know, we sometimes you die by that. You live by it, you die by it, and yeah, I think
Absolutely.
that was the case here. You end up losing that thing, and as we're going to see in other scenarios, which I can speak more personally about. Yeah, that's that's kind of like once the snowball gets rolling down the hill, it just keeps getting bigger and faster, and it's like, I guess there's no way out now. But
Neat.
anyway, so that is going to go ahead and bring us to next game we have to look at is Pokemaster versus Zachmander. So Um, these are two coaches that have been having pretty different seasons. Once again, Pokemaster kind of struggling to gain traction this season. As with Zach Mander, he's had a very solid season thus far. Um, and you can see in this game, it was in fact Zach Mander that took a pretty solid 3-0 victory over Pokemaster. And this game can be summed up in one word, in my opinion, although maybe there is more nuance to it than that. But the word for me, ladies and gentlemen, is Reggie Drago. Because this was the Reggie Drago game where it kind of just went in, four big kills, did not die. This was a game where Zach Mander put that Reggie Drago to good use. Um, Pokemaster, I don't recall if he brought Terra Fairy or Terra Steel on any of his Pokemon this week, but I do.
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But yeah, he did not really have an answer, and this is another example of if you see a weakness in your opponent's team, and you can have something to figure out that can exploit it, then it's just kind of off to the races for you. And he really got in there with that Reggie Drago. The Zamazenta Crown put some work in as well, as you would imagine it does, because Zamazenta Crown. But but really
Yep.
the Reggie Drago was the star of this one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because the thing is, like, Chris obviously does have a Tinkaton right now.
Mm,
What I like about this game is that Zach Mander kind of went with the prime high risk, high reward Regidrago. Like, obviously, there are
yeah,
multiple ways to build Regidrago. You can go special or physical because it has viable moves on both sides. You can bring Dragon Dance like he did against me. But no, Zach Mender went full on balls to the wall, Scarf, Dragon Energy, like Dragon Spam, which is what Regidrago does best. And it's like, this is one of those sets similar to like Regieleki with ground types. If you do not have a fairy type against this set, you are going to lose. But
yeah,
if you do, then you need that fairy gone before Reggie Draco does anything. And that's what I thought was really interesting because, like, if Chris had brought the Tinkaton to this game, then Reggie Drago would have been completely, and I mean completely useless until that Tinkaton would have gone down. But he didn't. So that Reggie Drago was opened up from the start. And I think, like, as soon as I saw that it was Scarf Dragon Energy, I was like, brother, what are we going to do about
yeah,
this?
yep, exactly.
Now, I will say I watched both sides of this game as I do with most games because I like hearing people's thoughts. It appears that Pokemaster did not really prep for this game that much to begin with. Like it was almost practically the same team as he brought last week, which he paid for. The Keldeo, for the record, was Terra Ghost. I do remember that much, which is obviously useful for Deoxys and Zamazenta Crown.
Yeah,
But I don't actually remember what the Terra type on the Decidueye was. But he really had no answers for the. Oh, it was Terra Ghost. Okay, that'd be why.
yeah,
As well. So double Terra Ghost on deck this week. Now, and that just is really, really, really difficult. Now, luckily for Pokemaster, because of the fact that Keldeo on paper is actually really, really strong. Like if you look at Zach Mender's team, right, it's like Zama Crown weak to fighting, Ogerpon weak to fighting, Chi-Yu weak to both, Deoxys weak to potential Terra Blast Ghost, and Gliscor weak to water, right? So at least Keldeo had a really, really good matchup here, and I feel like that's
yep,
what prevented Pokemaster from losing even harder.
yeah.
But yeah, this is a rough one for sure. And this is again, I don't know about you. Yeah, you get Zach Mander in week 9, but when I faced him in week 1,
Don't
despite
remind
the
me.
fact that it was not, yeah, good luck with that one.
Yeah.
But like when I faced Zach Mander, I wanted to make absolutely sure that I had a way to like make my Iron Crown and Diancie viable this game because I did not want to lose to it.
Yeah, it's so I will say in speaking about Zach Mander a little bit, like that's one of the things that makes his team so difficult to try to take on is the fact that he's got all these threats that could be potentially lethal. And when you look at like Reggie Drago compared to say like the Iron Crown or the Chi Yu or whatever, you might think to yourself like, oh well, Reggie Drago is a lot more limited than those Pokemon, right? So like you may over focus on trying to prepare for those Pokemon and then leave yourself open to getting, destroyed by Reggie Drago. And I think that's like the mark of a good team build or even a great team build, I would say, is that you have so many potentially lethal threats on that team that your opponent almost either doesn't know how to how to try to prepare for all of them at once, if that makes sense. So like,
Yep.
we could say, oh well, if Pokemaster had brought the Tinkaton, or if he had brought like Terra Fairy or Terra Steel on like one of his bulkier Pokemon, maybe he would have been okay. But like you can almost see why he didn't. Like I get, yeah, he may have not had the most succinct prep this week, and that's fair. Um, but you can also see the logic of like, well, if he brings Tinkaton, then it gets cooked by Chi Yu, So it's like
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of. Sometimes you're in a situation where you have to just cross your fingers, and I don't recommend this, but sometimes this is all you can do is just like cross your fingers and say, well, I have the build for what I think he's going to bring, and I just hope to God he doesn't bring something I don't think he's going to bring. And
Yeah.
maybe he was not expecting the Drago. Who knows? But yeah, it definitely can turn out rough if your opponent brings things that you don't expect. Then the game can certainly go sour in a hurry. So
Yeah, because that's one nuance with this game, right? Like Pokemaster could have potentially looked at this game in like, oh, I have a Tinkaton, no way he brings Regidrago, because if I do bring Tinkaton and Regidrago shows up, then it's useless.
yep,
I'm just not going to bring it and capitalize on trying to counter the rest. And then it did show up, and I'm like, well,
yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. Yes, it's
yep,
as Beanard likes to say, quote unfortunate. So.
yep.
But yeah, so moving on from this one, we are going to come to DRV versus the notorious HYM. So, uh,
Yes.
yes, the everyone's favorite, the notorious HYM. So, these are another two coaches that have been having kind of opposite seasons as well. So, DRV having a pretty solid season so far. HIM kind of struggling to gain traction this season. And so, as you can see, it was DRV that took a huge 5-0 victory over HIM in this game. Poor HIM has been dealt some rough losses this season, that's for sure. And unfortunately, much to the chagrin of Biridu, this one was courtesy of a 6-0 sweep for Iron Thorns, which is, I
My
know
God,
it's, yeah,
IronThorns.exe.
yes. So, what can I really say about, yeah, I mean, what is there to really say? Terra, Iron Thorns, 6-0 sweep. That's what this game was.
Yep. Now I will say, I helped DOV prepare for this game a little bit, and
Uh,
I'd be lying to you if I didn't kind of see this coming. Because for what it's worth, I actually thought that Iron Thorns had a really, really good matchup into HYM's team. I'm just gonna say it because you're here.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
but like, yep. But I knew he was gonna bring Terra Water in this game, and after Terra, like HIM's grass type is Torterra,
Mhm.
which he did not bring to this game. And then his electric type is part flying, aka weak to rock,
Right.
and is also a Zapdos, which is more defensively oriented. So as soon as I saw this team preview, I was like, Ironthorn's going to go in, isn't it? And yeah, it did just that. I think as we can see, DRV brought both the Rabambi and the Petron. I don't actually remember well enough if Webs did go up this game. I think they did. Um, but once Iron Thorns got one opportunity to Dragon Dance, it was just game. Like there was literally nothing that HIM could do. He didn't bring, I don't think, a Terra type on Gyarados that could have saved him against the Iron Thorns.
Yeah.
And yeah, that thing just like if you look at the team that HIM brought, it's like first of all we have three Pokemon weak to Rock to begin with, so that doesn't help.
Not at all,
Um,
no.
yeah, and then like the electric, like Excadrill is really the only thing that can take Iron Thorns on, even without Terra. But then it's Terra Water, so good
Yeah.
luck. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, again, I kind of saw this result coming, unfortunate as it is for Notorious HYM here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really feel like the only way that HIM could have won this is if he managed to get Baxcalibur in before Iron Thorns did, and he did not. So that was the result.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where on paper it was like you see the potential for Iron Thorns to go crazy, and it's like whether HIM didn't see that or whether he maybe it was an oversight or maybe he just didn't think he had anything, but either way, um, it's just like I guess like you said the extra drill could have, but with Terra Water on Iron Thorns not so much. So it's like it's just a tough spot to be in. Like that's why when we do those the playoff, or not, I'm sorry, not the playoff preview, but when we do like the team rankings, like the power rankings at the beginning of each season, why I put such a focus on the type chart is because if your type chart is so upside down against one type or another, and if you're upside down by like one, okay, maybe it's not the end of the world. But if you're upside down by like more than two on a type, it's just you're setting yourself up for sweeps if your opponent has a type that they can take advantage of that with. And because of Terra, that's even all the more likely with Terra. Like even if I didn't have a good if I didn't have like say a good fire type on my team, right? But I noticed that my opponent had like four fire weaknesses and like one fire resistance on their team. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bring Terra Fire on one of my Pokemon and just go to town. So
Hmm.
like, so that's why I stress type charts so much is because it's not impossible to win, obviously, but you're setting yourself up for something like this to happen if you don't have balanced type charts. And if I remember correctly, I know HIM made a lot of transactions this season, but I know his team was pretty type imbalanced in the beginning of the season, and I don't know. I know it got a little bit better from the transactions, but even so, like you said, like he had three Pokemon that were weak to rock in this game, only one resistance, and yeah, it did not end well. So
Although I will say, DRV, my boy DRV this season has been putting in the work with Iron Thorns this season because it's the second
yes,
week I believe that it got a massive sweep, and I still always want to reminisce the times in the past where every single draft league we did, season three, season four, season five, every single season we made Iron Thorns cheaper and cheaper. No one ever picked it up, and this season someone finally did it, and my boy DOV has been showing what you guys have been missing out on. So I
there
think
you
that
go.
is really cool, I will say.
Yes, I know you're very proud of that, and I understand why. Yes, I get it. You got
Yeah, because unlike Beardo, I actually like Iron Thorns.
yes. I was just gonna say, yeah. I don't know why he hates Iron Thorn so much because I'll be honest, I actually do like Iron Thorns as a Pokemon, and I wish it was just like a little bit better at something, and then it could be like if its speed was only just a little higher, because the amount of
Yeah.
Pokemon that outspeed it still after one Dragon Dance is just like, come
Oh yeah,
on. But
absolutely. And
uh,
the saddest part is it's already like 10 points faster than Tyranitar, but it's
yeah,
still just that slow.
indeed. So. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. This is the second time that we've seen the Iron Thorns do something like this. So yeah, definitely hats off to DRV for making Scorpion's dream come true. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, moving on to the next one, that is going to bring us to Raymond versus Brandon P. So two coaches who have been having very solid seasons up until this point. Um, as you can see, of course, Raymond, the former two-time champion, and as you can see, it was Raymond who took a pretty big 4-0 victory here over Brandon. And in this game, it was the Terra Paldean Tauros Blaze that really had its time to shine. A Pokemon that I've heavily considered drafting on multiple occasions. Actually, I have to throw that in there, but I decided not to. And yeah, Raymond just, I believe, recently transacted for it before this game, and
Yep.
really definitely put in work for it. It ended up going down, but he ended up having Terrapagos come in and clean up. But yeah, I know on Brandon's side, the Ogre Pond Wellspring definitely, as it has been known to do, put in some work, but definitely was overpowered by that combination from the former two-time champ Ray.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, I'm going to be biased here because I'm a great friend of Ray, but I will say, looking at this game, I loved Raymond's prep. He prepped this game phenomenally. First of all, he recognized that his team would have been really, really weak to Ogerpon Wellspring otherwise, so he brought out the infamous dropping huge power for Sapsipper Azumarill to not only wall the Ogerpon, but also deny it from getting a Trailblaze. And that denying that Trailblaze this game, which he saw coming in team preview, was absolutely humongous. Because if Ogerpon had been allowed to Trailblaze this game, it would have been an infinitely more difficult game. And of course, it's really difficult, right? Because when you see Brandon's team, you see all these bulky walls, like you see Galarian Weezing, you see Hisuian and Gudra, you see the Alamomola, which didn't come to this game, but it's still there.
Yeah.
You feel like you really need that power of huge power Azumarill, but Ray still chose to tactically use the Sapsipper because he knew how much of a threat Ogerpon Wellspring was, and that turn of denying that Trailblaze, I think, was really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Additionally, the Oro's Blaze was set up like specially defensive, specific EV spread so that a strange steam from Galarian Weezing would not break the substitute and he could bulk up in its face. Obviously, you can also set up on Hisui and Goodrev. That thing is force a Draco Meteor it. You take Dragon Tail as well, so that thing can't force you out. And then it's like, if you look at Brandon's team this week, there were no Ghost Resists, right? So Terra Blast Ghost in general was extremely, extremely free. And so I really just feel like the level of like I'm gonna have to say it. Brandon was out prepped this game, big time. There was very little he could do against that Tauros, and even when it finally went down, of course, Ogerpon, I think it still definitely scored a couple of KOs here and there. A Pokemon like Tauros can only take so many Ivy Cudgels before it eventually goes down.
Indeed.
But this is a prime example of Chef Raymond, as I like to call him, cooking for this matchup. Because I also recall him being quite worried about this game too, because there was quite a few Pokemon, again that Ogerpon Wellspring, but also Cinderace, who were really strong into Raymond's team. So I really commend him for coming up with all these strategies to ensure that he could have a solid path to victory.
Yes, absolutely. I would agree with you. I think this was definitely a prime Ray on display here, really showcasing why he has been a former two-time winner. And yeah, I agree 100%. He made that tactical decision of Sap Sipper Azumarill, and that really paid dividends for him. And like I said, the Tauros Blaze set up perfectly, and again, this is what goes back to what I said earlier with the time investment. So if you can have the time, you can set aside the time to figure all this out, crunch all these numbers, and set yourself up like that. First, you have to come up with a strategy, of course, as well. And we know Ray's definitely no stranger to strategizing. And it really paid off in this game. Honestly, I do agree with you. I think Ray's prep was definitely next level in this one, as he has been known to do, and it really paid off for him. So,
For sure. Solid game though by both coaches, despite the result.
indeed. So, that is going to bring us to the final game of Week 7 here, which is actually going to be my game as I took on Cody. So, this season has been, I will say, kind of a mixed bag for both of us, honestly. So both myself and Cody, and we'll definitely see that post Week 8. We've really been like splitting the line. I want to say like it's really been me, for the most part. I would say I've been the coach who's been really like splitting the difference the most this entire season. But if there's one person who's right behind me in that category this season, it would be Cody for sure. So this was going to be an interesting game, I think, because we were both in a similar position, because like pretty much all the other coaches were better or doing worse. We were kind of like applying like occupying that middle ground. So um, as you see for the results here, it was in fact me that took a pretty sizable 4-0 victory over Cody. And I'll give you a little bit of insight into what I was thinking about this game. So I will say this was going into this game, I realized this was to that point the most important game of the season for me, because both Cody and I have very similar records. We're both going to be potentially gunning to sneak into the playoffs in like the 7th or 8th seed. And
Yeah, this game had big playoff implications.
yes, so I really I was able to, fortunately, and I can't always because of work and life. I was able to put aside a sizable amount of time to strategize for this game, and I did spend a solid amount of time strategizing for this game, and I came up with some stuff that didn't end up coming into play, but I thought was actually pretty neat. Um, some of the so when I was picking the team, I was I was thinking about Spectrier, obviously, and another thing that actually uh, I hadn't brought yet was the Pheasantipity. I was looking at his team and I was thinking, Pheasantipity could have a really good time against this team, except for I was gonna say there was only like I think. The only thing I was concerned with, I want to say, I can't remember what it was, but there was like one Pokemon I was concerned about that he ended up not bringing as far as Pheasantipity is concerned. So I think that was solid. Um,
Was
but
it the Earthworm by any chance?
Yes, it was the Orthworm. Yes, thank you. That was my one reservation about not about bringing Pheasantipity, but he ended up not bringing the Orthworm, so I was happy about that. The stuff that I had strategized that came into play in this match was the weakness policy Ting Lu lead.
I
So
wanted to mention it actually. I love the weakness policy Ting Lu.
thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, so I had crunched the numbers and I saw, okay, Ting Lu lives. Okay, no matter what Ogerpon does, Ting Lu lives a shot. No matter what, there was a couple other Pokemon that I was like, okay,
Even
Ting
Crit
Lu,
Power Whip.
no, not that, but but
Niche situation obviously was like everything. You
yeah,
sure?
yeah, yeah. So, you can't factor crits into your
Yeah,
calculation,
no,
but
of course, of course.
but yeah. So I was like, okay, Ting Lu, if I can, I actually, believe it or not, the main reason that I brought this Ting Lu weakness policy was because I envisioned him leading with Dragapult, actually, and I envisioned him wanting to U-turn with the Dragapult on Ting Lu to not get KO'd by a dark move, and then me getting like a pretty much free weakness policy and just starting to poke holes in his team. So it didn't
Hmm.
quite turn out that way, but it almost turned out that way because I was able to, get the weakness policy off on the Ogerpon and big
So you
things.
did 1v1 the Ogerpon.
Yes, and that was great. And then if I wouldn't have decided to get hazards up, I think I could have taken the Dragapult down as well. Um, did some damage to the Primarina. So yeah, I was particularly happy with the weakness policy Ting Lu. That really worked out the way I wanted it to. The big star of this game, though, was, much to my happiness, the Gudra, of course, the captain. So
The captain,
yes,
the fabled Gudra.
there were a number of situations in this game where Gudra lived on, like, in red HP on numerous attacks due to either like an overpredict on his part, or there was a couple of times where I was like, I'm just gonna sack Gudra and then I get a clean switch into something else, but no, it turns out that Gudra actually did survive, and took out it was in the face of the Iron Jugulus, I believe, took that thing down, surviving like a couple of flash cannons, I think, from it. And I did have max bulk investment, which was helpful with that. But yeah, I was kind of honestly surprised that Gudra was as big of a star in this match as it was, because I figured, if I have the max bulk investment, I can live a bunch of things. Um, but I was impressed with the Gudra not willing to die, and I almost wish I had switched it out at the end just to save it, because to thank it for not dying. But I was like, nah, let me roll the dice and go for one more KO on this to Dunsparce, and it didn't
I respect it.
didn't quite work. But the other thing, actually, the one other thing that I cooked up for this game that did not factor much was the Terra Normal Hitmonlee. So I was crunching numbers and I was racking my brain, and I was like, Hitmonlee looks so good into his team, if not for the fact that I don't have enough move slots to hit everything. Like, I don't have enough move slots to hit like the Okadogi and the Primarina and everything else, right? So I
Hmm.
was thinking to myself, like, what can I do to hit like everything neutrally? And that was kind of where that came into play, because I was like, well, if I just do Terra Normal and max out on damage, then I can, poke some holes with that. But that didn't come into play anyway. But Hitmonlee did close the matchup out for me. Just didn't have to go Terra Normal. Um, but but yeah, I was very happy with the way that I prepped for this game. I thought my prep this game was probably one of the best that I've brought all season, and I thought that I played this game surgically too, like, very well. So I would say, like, we talked about like a lot of like people being peak them this week. I do believe this week was peak B-Nard, in my opinion. I will say. I think
Vintage B-Nard.
exactly. So needless to say, I was happy with that result. But
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was well played from you. I think I really did like that. Gudra had the freaking anime moments multiple times this game, man. Like it's
mhm.
and Gudra was one of those Pokemon where I'm always thankful that it doesn't have reliable recovery, because my God, this thing absorbs special hits like left and right, day in and day out.
Yep.
And Cody's team kind of really suffered from that. What I will say is, I actually thought this was a pretty good matchup for Cody on paper, especially because, again,
Yep.
you're the star of the show on your team is, and rightfully has been all this season, the Spectrier.
Yep.
And Cody is one of the few teams that has a premier normal type in the Dunsparce, right? A highly useful Pokemon. And
Yes.
unlike my Cyclizar, for example, the Dunsparce is not weak to Fairy.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly threatened by like Draining Kiss or any other coverage options that Spectrier has. So I was like, okay, I was looking at this matchup before, and I was like, okay, if B-Nard wins this, he's gonna have to do it with something other than Spectre. Now, you did still bring it, and of course, as you should, it puts a lot of pressure on teams even with normal types.
Yeah.
Um, but I was really, really, like you said, impressed with Gudra this game, and Tinglu also punching so many holes kind of made it easier for like Spectre didn't even have to do anything this game. It just sat in the back and just like evil and intimidating horse, but it didn't actually do anything.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It
no, it
was
was like
it was just kind
like
of like
Gudra
sitting
and
there.
Tinglu.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was just kind of like sitting there hoping that the Dunsparce. But I thought it would not to cut you off, but I thought it was funny how like the Dunsparce was like the thing he was saving at all costs just because he was so afraid of the Spectrier. And I'm like, I get that for sure, but like so I'm when I saw the Dunsparce, which obviously I knew was gonna come to the match, I was like, well, that thing has to go down before Spectrier can really do its thing, and he was protecting that thing at all costs because he knew that as well. So but
Yeah, but then it's like when you're protecting you the Dunsparce, you're leading the charge with your Dragapult and your Ogerpon Hearthflame. So it's like if they go down early and you don't have anything else in the late game, it's like, well, that's rough. And
Mhm.
yeah, this is really kind of like the bulky walls, but still with good attack stats, like taking the hits, firing back, and taking the team down until Hitmonlee came in and cleaned up.
Absolutely, yes. And so it went how I hoped it would. Let's say that. And I do agree with you, though. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I didn't think that I had a great matchup on paper either, which is I think one of the reasons why I put a lot of effort into this game. Like I tried to put as much thought into this game as possible because I was like, I really need to win this if I want to try and keep the playoff hopes alive because it's been a mixed season for me, as you know. Um, so I need to I need to win this if I can. So yeah, that's I'm glad it turned out the way it did. I'll say that. So but yeah, that is going to wrap week 7. So that is going to bring us into our week 8 games. And so the first week 8 game, we'll know. I know Scorpion. We'll rip the band-aid off real fast
Here
for you.
we
We'll
go.
get it out of the
Here we
way.
go.
So the first game on the list to talk about is Stefan versus Scorpion. So going into this matchup, as I mentioned before, Scorpion you've been having a pretty solid season. Stefan not so much. He's struggled to gain traction, but much to the surprise of most, I think this. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I will say this was one of, if not the most shocking result in BHDL history, in my opinion. And I don't say that just because it's Stefan. I take nothing away from him as a player, um, but and I don't even say this, because it's you, and you've historically had a very good track record in this league. But I say it just for the fact that we witnessed, for I think the first time ever in BHDL, if I'm not mistaken, a slow bro sweep. The
Yep.
floor is yours, sir. Take it away.
Oh God, do I even want to? No, sure. Um, this is a really tough game, of course. Now, this is also the first time I've ever gotten 6-0'd in draft.
Mm.
I've gotten 6-0s myself before, both on poor HIM, unfortunately.
Yes.
But I don't even think this was a particularly bad matchup on paper, right? Now, the only Pokemon on Stefan's team that I was especially worried about was the Meowscarada, funnily enough.
Mm.
Um, and so I thought I was pretty well prepared for this game, all things considered. I wasn't like especially confident going into this game, but I thought my Iron Crown had a pretty solid matchup here. I did, from desperation comes innovation. I had this bulky Entei to take on Meowscarada with a Rocky Helmet, and
Yep.
it's funny because the first 2 turns of this battle went perfectly for me, right? I led with Landorus Syrian, baited the triple action from Meowscarada, went into Entei, took very negligible damage, and took half health of Meowscarada from it eating or going for triple axle.
Yep.
Then I predicted the Slowbro to come in, doubled out into Cyclizar to generate some more momentum, and then U-turned out, and that was GG right there. Because the Slowbro had a weakness policy on that I did not see coming. I saw the sort of item proc. I thought it was a Jack button. It was not. He set up Trick Room, and he was off to the races. Now, unfortunately for me, there were a couple of things that did not go my way this game. First of all, I actually had a lot of bulk investment on my Urshifu. So I initially went Urshifu because I didn't really have a good switch into Scald after I U-turned out,
Mm,
as he set up Trick Room. Because I expected him to set up Trick Room, right? So I thought, okay, let's go Urshifu, or if he clicks a Psychic move, I can take it.
mm,
So he set up a Trick Room, and because of my HP investment, I actually had like I think 40% chance, not great, but I had a 40% chance to live that Scald.
right.
Didn't get that roll.
Mm,
Okay, so now I'm in trouble. Now I have to sack a couple Pokemon. I'm calcing the Scald, and I can see Iron Crown lives guaranteed. So I'm like, okay, let me just sack the pieces that I think I don't need, and then go back into Iron Crown.
right.
So I stall out the Trick Room turns. I lose Entei, I think, in the process, as well as Cyclozar. Then I come in with Landorus and I try to Earth Power, right? Because the Slowbro has gone Terra Electric at this point.
Yeah.
It lives, I Earth Power it, it's really super effective, but I don't have any special attack investment because I'm a bulky Landorus to take on Terra Ledge. He lives on like 1 HP and gets the Trick Room back up. So I'm like, okay, well, this game is a lost cause.
Yeah.
Then I go Iron Crown, my bitter last resort Pokemon. I'm not going to win the game at this point. I'm never going to beat Swampert with Iron Crown, and I'm not going to beat him with Gengar either because he's got Scarf Meowscarada. But
Yeah.
at least I can lower the differential. And then my Iron Crown gets crit again, just like it did in week one, and
Yes.
it dies in one hit, and then the game is over. And that's just like this was
Everything that
like
could
it was
go
already a
wrong.
difficult situation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything that
exactly.
could go
Everything that
wrong
could have
didn't go
gone
wrong
wrong.
did. Yep.
Yep, literally. Now, one thing I want to say is Stefan had all the reason in the world to not take this game seriously, right? It's like I'm nearly locked into playoffs. He is mathematically eliminated from playoffs. He could play the game for fun, but realistically, there is no real special reason to lock in for this game.
Sure.
But he still did. He wanted to give me a good battle. He showed me his team after the game, and I was like, wow, I was pretty impressed by some of the stuff he brought. Spoiler, that was not the only weakness policy he had on him. I think he also had weakness policy Ceruledge and weakness policy Enamorus, so
Oh man.
he was really going for my throat this game.
Seriously. Holy shit.
Yeah, so I fully appreciate Stefan for trying. It was absolutely my fault to not see this set coming and be prepared for it. It's a really sick tech that you have to be prepared for in draft. I was not, and I paid the price for it. And again, am I a little bit upset that it was a 6-0 because of the stuff that happened? Yeah, a little bit, but I can only commend Stefan for a well prepped and well played game. And it did indeed shock many people, but this is also why I want to remind people never to underestimate anyone, as I always do. And also, this is why I always vote against myself in the pick'ems every week because I am never confident. I am, for some reason, like there is always, and I think you mentioned this in a previous week's recap, which by the way I really appreciate the compliment. I think you mentioned that like I'm always really on top of trying to prep for worst case scenario, and that is
Yes.
because I do indeed sometimes overthink worst case scenario, and this is why, because this was worst case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You are
it
correct, sir.
was,
Yes.
yeah. So this was really rough, and but yeah, again, hats off to Stefan. He played it well, just like Al did. He played well. He prepped well, and I'm again not upset at anyone here. Is he deserved it, and that was it was what it is. It's sad that it had to come at my expense, but you know
Yeah. I
it
understand.
happens to everyone, I guess.
Yes, I was gonna say in your mind, perhaps, if anyone was going to if this was going to happen to you at the hands of anyone, I suppose it may as well have been your fellow Dutchie, right?
Yep. Oh no, absolutely.
So
But yeah, no,
yeah,
like I said, I appreciate Stefan for being such a. He also left a really nice message to me after the game, and yeah, he's a great guy, man. I appreciate him.
absolutely. And this is just I think one thing you said that I 100% agree with, and I make this point frequently, but I can't stress it enough, is that in this league specifically, and all the time that I've been with this league, um, I can confidently say there is no such thing as a week off. There is no such thing as a given week. There's no such thing as a foregone conclusion because on any given week, any of these players, I mean, you might think, okay, some of these players have bad records, like, only one win, two wins, whatever it takes. These are for the most part all great coaches, great players. They know what they're doing, and on any given week they can shine like this. And And this is just like the best example of that. I think is anything can happen in BHDL, and you have to be on your game every single week. Otherwise, something could happen. And as proof, this happened. So, you know, yeah. I guess that's pretty much all I could say about that. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, and the sad part, is I don't even think again, I don't think I played this game particularly bad. I just did not see a strategy coming, and that's draft,
yeah.
man. Simple as that.
Yeah, draft league is a cruel mistress sometimes. That's for sure. So, all right, but moving on. For don't worry, we'll get to my pain and suffering in a little bit. But before we get to that, we're gonna come to Kingborough versus Emerald Miner. So. This was again. This has been a tale of, like I said, Kingborough has been having a pretty solid season. Emerald Miner, again, struggling a little bit this season, which is uncharacteristic for him. But as we can see in this game, it was in fact Emerald Miner that took a pretty narrow but still respectable 2-0 victory over Kingborough. And again, Emerald Miner having this sort of like late season resurgence, I think, here, getting these victories, which is pretty cool to see. Um, but yeah, you can see here it was in fact for Emerald Miner the Hoopa actually that hit the field and made some waves for him. And yeah, that thing got 2 kills and I think did not die in this particular matchup. Oh, you still there, man? Did I lose you? Nope. Hmm. We may be having some technical difficulties here, folks. Let's see here. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure what happened here. May need to just do like a little reset. So yeah, we're gonna try to get Scorpion back here. I believe we may have lost him, um, but we are going to try to get him back. Let's see here. Let's see here. Uh,
Oh, I hear
can you
something.
hear me now?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I think we had a little bit of a technical difficulty there, but I think you are back. So
Okay,
there you go.
sweet.
Yeah. I'm not sure what happened there. My laptop has passed its expiration date, I think. But but yeah, we are back. So,
Probably.
anyway, yeah, I was just saying in this matchup we had with Emerald and King Burra. Um, Emerald really been making that this kind of late season push to get some wins under his belt here, which has been cool. Um, and so yeah, it was actually the Hoopa on Emerald's side that hit the field and did some damage in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually a really really fun game to watch, in my opinion. There was a lot of back and forth this game. There was sort of towards the middle of the game, there was a bit of a sort of war going on between positioning
Right.
because King Bara had a Choice Scarf Great Tusk, which was really, really threatening into Emerald's team. I believe Electros went down somewhat early. And as you can see, after that, there were no switch-ins to a headlong rush. I mean, obviously, Shaman can take it, and as a matter of fact, it did. But Great Tusk was very threatening whenever it came in. However, on the flip side, we also had the Ambipom go down somewhat early, and Emerald had a Choice Scarf Terra Ghost Hoopa, which every time it got to fire off a Shadow Ball was also really, really scary. So they were constantly like sort of doing this chess game, like trying to sack their pieces and get their attackers into position. And in the end, the Great Tusk was unfortunately forced to go down. And I think really it was actually kind of Shaman that put in so much work this game.
Yeah.
Not only because it was the only thing on Emerald's team that could really take Headlong Rush comfortably, but also, I don't know if you noticed, but I think not only did Emerald hit all 8 Seed Flares this game, but I think like 6 out of 8 of them got SPDF drops. And I'm not being funny. I went to check Shaman Ground's ability after this game to double check and ensure it wasn't Serene Grace, because holy crap, those were Serene Grace odds, and that
Yeah.
was honestly kind of crazy. So it was really really cool to see Shaman pop off like that. Really sort of the mythicals, if you will, on Emerald side popping off.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, really really cool chess game, really really cool game of positioning. And really, really cool techs on both sides as well. I believe we had an Intimidate defensive Hisuian Arcanine on King Bra's side. And yeah, it was just a really solid match between two solid coaches for sure. But yeah, I love the showing of Shame in this game.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but Shaman is actually one of my favorite mythical Pokemon. I would say not even the Sky form, but like actually land form Shaman is specifically one of my favorite mythical slash legendary Pokemon. I like it a lot. Um,
Same, honestly.
so I am happy to see that it put work in, and you are right. It was perhaps the unsung. Well, you just sung its praises, so it's no longer the unsung hero of this game. But prior to this, I think it may have been the unsung hero of this game because yeah, Great Tusk is one of those Pokemon that it switching anything in that ground fighting stab combination is just so hard to, and then it gets Ice Spinner too, and it's such a powerhouse Pokemon to try to switch into. So definitely Shaman being able to do that paid huge dividends for Emerald. And I like to say that again, I think this game was like very much it was more Emerald. Like these last couple of weeks have been like more Emerald than we're used to seeing, I guess as of late from him. So it's this game was like Emerald Miner in a nutshell. I will say like
hmm
I was gonna say I was almost expecting you to calculate the odds of like not only the odds of hitting all 8 Seed Flares, but also like what the odds were of getting all those SPDF drops were. But it is
Yeah,
it
that
is
was rough.
astronomically low. I can say that. But sometimes in Pokemon, odds don't matter, and I'll definitely explore that a little bit more when I get to my game. But anyway,
Oh, here we
so
go.
yeah, no, I'm not. I like I said, my pain train is coming. It's just we're gonna have to wait till the end for it. So.
Yeah,
Um,
no, we had mine, and we're gonna end with yours.
Yes, indeed. We we started with yours, and we're going to end with mine. So, but we got more games to talk about before that. So, the next one we are going to talk about is going to be Twisted Games versus Abomination. So,
Blowout
again,
number fucking 61 at this point. Like, how many have we had?
I was gonna say, yeah, there was this week was a little more of a mixed bag, I think, because we had like half the games were like 5-0, 6-0 blowouts, and the other ones were like 2-0s, 1-0s, that kind of thing. So this week was definitely a little more of a mixed bag, but my God, there were blowouts, and this was one of them. So again, Twisted Games kind of struggling a little bit this season, has not had the best of seasons. Abomination has been having probably the best season of his entire run here with this league. And so, as you can see, he did indeed take a huge 5-0 victory over Twisted Games here. And it was the. Okay, hold on a second. Um, I have
I'm
to.
going to B-Nard. We are not getting off this call until I get you to say it right.
Yes, it's going to be the Pokemon that I can never pronounce for some reason. It's Kirem. Kirem, is that what it
Okay,
is?
so
Kirem?
try saying like when you medically cure someone, hey, you should cure him. Now say that,
Curem?
cure him,
Curem? Curem?
cure him.
Cure him. Like cure him.
Yes,
Yeah, doctor, we need to
cure him.
cure him. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you say it. It's like cure
Yes.
him.
Love it. It's not Kyrum.
No, 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 absolutely not.
kind of.
Bro, you have no idea how badly I was laughing when I first heard you say that. I was like, you can't be
I
serious.
don't, I guess everybody has like that blind spot for like one or two things that they just can't pronounce, and that for whatever reason this Pokemon has that spot in my life. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but you can see that aforementioned Pokemon definitely came through big for Al in this game. 3 kills, not a death. And also the Infernape, the fabled Al Infernape, that has been putting in a lot of work for him this season, also came through with another 2 kills. And this was really just a case of, I think Al just overpowered yet again another opponent.
Yep. Now, I will say, can I have? I mean, okay, actually, I do think we have an explanation for this because I think it was just that Twisted wanted to bring this.
Sure.
But as the number one Palafin aficionado in this game, why did we bring Gumshoes over Palafin?
That is a good question. Maybe he was afraid of the Jolteon. I don't know. Which it turns out I don't even think Al brought the Jolteon this
No,
week.
what Jolteon? There was no Jolteon. Now,
What?
there
Yeah.
was a Slowking to be fair, but still.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's yeah, I think like Palafin is one of those Pokemon that if you're gonna draft it, you gotta use it. You know what I mean? Like for better or worse, you
Yeah.
gotta use it, I think. And maybe I know Twisted, I think, may have had a little buyer's remorse on Palafin this season, so he perhaps decided not to bring it this week because of that. He wanted to give Gumshoes that another chance to shine, I guess, and did not
Hmm.
quite work out for him. But
No, that was literally the justification. I'm pretty sure he literally said after the game, right? I just wanted to use Gumshoes, but it's like we have a Corviknight there, brother. What is Gumshoe? Well, I say what is Gumshoe is going to do. It got more kills than a Terra Landorus Incarnate and an Iron Bundle. So what do I know?
yes, exactly. Yeah, you just got 6-0'd, man. What do you know?
Yeah, no, maybe maybe I can't talk, but
No,
still.
it's okay. I get where you're coming from, though. It's like when you look at it on paper, it's like Gumshoes. I don't know. I mean, Gumshoes did put some work in on me too when I played this guy, so I can't talk too much. I guess maybe Gumshoes is just more powerful than we ever could have imagined. Like that's.
All right, all right, B-Nard, I have the message. Gumshoes is 18 points next season.
Well, all right, I agree with you. Yes, raising the price. It's banned from Terra, 18-point price tag. I
Yes.
agree. It's official.
Absolutely. No, the Dragon Dance Curum, though, that was the set I believe Al brought this game. Even when you look at the team preview, there is very, very little counterplay to that, right? Obviously, Iron Bundle can outspeed it once, but then once the Dragon Dance goes up, it is very, very difficult to stop.
Right.
And yeah, once that Dragon Dance was set up once, there was basically very little he could do. I also really like this set actually. We had I think Terra Fighting lead Sash Infernape with Vacuum Wave that I believe it might be able to one shot the Iron Bundle before it can do anything. So
Yeah.
Al, for what it's worth, for the guy who's known to draft quite defensive teams, had a lot of like offensive pressure this game,
Yeah.
which Twisted was not really prepared to deal with. And like I honestly say that like obviously why did we not bring Palafin? But like we do obviously have a Whimsicott that outspeeds it and does big damage to it. And Al even came prepared for a Palafin with Throat Chop because that's the best way that Palafin can hurt Slowking. But he had a Cobra Berry for it as well. So Al definitely came to play. Twisted perhaps not as much. And yeah, he definitely paid for it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just another example of Al being super dialed in. I think as he really has been. He had I think I don't want to say he had a rough start to the league, but he had definitely the last few weeks he's been scoring commanding victories over his opponents. And
Yeah.
this season has definitely been going his way generally, but I think these last few weeks especially he's really been putting in the work and he's just been dialed in, man, and he's killing it. So.
He's on a 5 win streak at the moment. He's got a plus 20 differential, but still 2 weeks or sorry, 1 week to go. That's crazy.
Yes, he is. He's up there, man. He's putting himself on the map this season. So, um, yeah, that is going to bring us to our next game here, and that is going to be Chris, also known as Pokemaster88, from the Discord server. Go ahead and join the Discord server. It's the best place to go for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Sorry, I can't do it.
Can't even say it in one sitting.
I
I'm
didn't.
disgusted.
I could have. Yeah. So the thing is, so normally what I do is I take a full breath and then on the exhale I could do it all in one shot. But I didn't do that this
I just
time.
imagine, I just have this like mental image of you like big exhale, chest puffing up, and then you try to
Yes.
say all that in one sitting.
Yes, that's normally what I do, but unfortunately, this time, I didn't. I wasn't prepared for it because I actually just like didn't know if I was going to do it or not, and then I tried to like shoot from the hip, and it didn't work. I'm infamous for shooting from the hip, for better or worse, and so unfortunately, it didn't work out
Love
this
it.
time. But you all know him. You know, know Pokemaster and Lazy Boy as well, and so as I mentioned, you know, Pokemaster not had the best season this time around. Lazy Boy, as I had mentioned when we talked about the Week 7 games, has really been on a streak as of late. And so that streak continued into this match as he scored a solid 3-0 victory over Pokemaster. And once again, the gouging fire paying dividends, but the Hatterene as well, 3 kills and not a single death this time around. So that is pretty impressive, actually. I will say as a sidebar, to not just this game, but generally speaking, I have been impressed with how Lazy Boy has really come in as a replacement coach and kind of like taken command late in the season, kind of like scoring those big victories, and just getting himself in the game. And from a competitive standpoint, I wish that was not the case because I'm trying to sneak into playoffs and he's in the same boat as me. So, so from a direct competitive standpoint, I wish he would be dropping the ball a little more than he is. But I do appreciate the fact that
Love
he's
it.
not. So, yeah,
Yeah, no, definitely. Unfortunately, we did not actually get to see this game, I don't think. I don't believe there was an upload from either side of this game.
yeah,
So we kind of have to go just by the numbers here. But I will say is, so this Hatterene is a Terra Captain, right? I think this is the first time that Hatterene has ever been made a Terra Captain in BHDL history,
mm,
even though it is quite a popular Pokemon outside of that.
mm,
But this Hatterene, even when you look at the matchup on paper, had a really, really strong matchup. Obviously, I also noticed that Chris's team has a bit of a fairy weakness in general. If we look at what he brought Salamence, Mandibuzz, and Keldeo. That's half the team that's weak to fairy. And yeah, like if you can get like a trick room set up, which is I presume what happened, then Hatterene could be really really scary because like what a lot of people forget is that Hatterene actually has like a really really solid special attack stat,
yeah,
which unfortunately is offset a little bit by the fact that its moves are a little bit weak because it doesn't even have it's a fairy type that doesn't even have Moonblast, so Dazzling Gleam is the best it's got, I believe.
mm,
But it really looked like there was little Chris could do once this Hatterene got set up.
yeah.
And I presume that's what happened this game. And like it's funny as well because I also had a trick room fairy based strategy against Chris as well, but unfortunately he managed to. I think he tricked me a choice scarf that week to prevent it from happening.
Yeah.
But that actually brings me to the next funny thing. Actually, is that I just realized I didn't even realize this at first. Chris benched his Darkrai this game. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't notice that either actually until you're saying it now. So yeah, that's we have seen a couple. I guess that's a reoccurring theme because we saw Twisted not bring the Palafin just a second ago. So
Oh yeah, indeed.
I guess benching the round one. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've benched Spectrier a couple of times this season as well. So I guess benching the round one draft pick is I guess it's catching on. It's not. It's not always the greatest idea, but I guess sometimes if you want to throw your opponent off or whatever, it's a thing you can do. It doesn't always work out, but um,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
But anyway, yeah, no, for sure, it's one of those things where I think Hatterene is one of those Pokemon where, like you said, it's it's a little underappreciated in the sense that it really can put work in, but its combination of its low speed stat and it's got not a terrible move pool, but it doesn't have like the best move pool in the world. Make its massive special attack stat a little bit lackluster, but as a Terra Captain, and if you can set it up and position it correctly, it can really put work in. And again, this goes back to something I said before about stacking too many weaknesses on your team. If you're bringing a team that has like three Pokemon weak to the same thing, and you have not at least like one or two resistances, or if you have one that can't like Terra out of that weakness, it's going to be a rough time for you if your opponent can see that and exploit that weakness in your team, and for sure, that seems to be what happened here. So, um, but moving right along, that is going to bring us to our next game, which turns out to be the closest game of the week here. That is going to be DRV versus RK Niner. So, um, there you could see again two coaches that have been kind of having opposite seasons here for the most part. DRV been having a very solid season. RK Niner been struggling a little bit, but as you can see, it was DRV that took a narrow 1-0 victory here over RK Niner, and I think it was definitely that Terra Hydrapple put in some work here. Was the sole survivor on DRV's team, and that thing, I will tell you what, um, the the amount of value that DRV has gotten out of the Terra Hydrapple this season has been next level to me. He's
Oh, it's crazy.
yeah, he's gotten
Absolutely nuts. That thing is at
yeah.
that thing is at the top of the leaderboard by like a mile. Like I think at the moment we have this thing 17 kills, 3 deaths, and the second is Lazy Boys Gouging Fire with 12. So it's a whopping 5 kills ahead of second place.
Yeah, I think we spoiler alert maybe looking at the next BHDL mascot there with Hydrapple, but you know.
Oh, very possibly. Yeah.
But yeah, that is wild. I know the Tornadus Therian put some work in as well, scoring 2 kills. On RK9er side, I will say he made this a close one. The Garchomp scored a couple of kills. I do know that according to DRV anyway, he stated that he came a whisper away from choking in this game. Once again, I don't know exactly what he means by that, but perhaps
Oh,
you
he
do.
did. He absolutely did.
All right, take it away.
Okay. So first of all, I this gives us another really fun game, right? Obviously, as expected from a close one.
Yep.
Like I said, I do sometimes help DRV with this prep, and I was expecting this game to be a blowout, if I'm being brutally honest with you, because DRV, first of all, he brought Sticky Web Rabambi with Petarant. Petarant obviously is an amazing spin blocker
Mm-hmm.
against Arcanatus Cryogarden, who is his only spinner. So I was expecting Webs to go up this game and stay up this game. But my God, Arcanatus did a phenomenal job at pressuring that Rabambi and preventing the Webs from going up. He made sure to have Metagross in the game a lot of the time. Like Metagross, honestly, despite only getting 1 kill, put in a lot of work this game. It denied Rabombi from getting up webs constantly because of the threat of Bullet Punch.
Yeah.
And again, he really kind of kept pressuring the Rabombi out, so he couldn't get webs up. I believe he did get up webs at some point,
Mm-hmm.
but it was really scary. And Arcanine, or just in general, this game really managed to position his Pokemon carefully. Now, the Thunderous, unfortunately, it did get 1 kill, but DRV also had this like Assault Vest Terra Electric Hydrapple, which is about as good as it gets to like Choice Specs Thunderous switch-ins, which it was this game. So again, looking at like how much Arcanau's team hates webs, and he also had a Scarf Tornadus Therian to outspeed Booster Energy Iron Valiant and kill it with a flying move. So like I was looking at DRVs, like how is Arcanauta going to handle this? But Arcanauta kept playing aggressively, did not let DRV kind of play his game, and he nearly threw it at the end. So let me try and recall exactly what happened in this game. So it was a scale shock Garchomp situation. I know Arcanine has been very fond of this scale shock Garchomp set. He's definitely been
Right.
using that quite a lot. It nearly did me in as well.
Yeah.
But so he had the end game, and he had a scale shot Swords Dance Garchomp in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And obviously the Hydrapple had already terrestrialized at this point, so it was weak to ground. Um, Now he could have. Let me try and remember correctly. So he could have stayed in with. Yeah, okay. So he had the Tornadus in.
Right.
Sorry, no, he had the Hydrapple in
Mm-hmm.
against the Garchomp. The Garchomp was at neutral speed because there was no webs,
Right.
and he could have just. The Hydrapple was low. He could have just sacked the Hydrapple to Garchomp. Even if it clicks Scale Shot and hits and gets the speed boost, Tornadus will outspeed because it's got Choice Scarf itself, right?
Right.
So you let Hydrapple go down, you go Tornadoes, and you win, or at least you have a 95% chance to win. He had Icy Wind, the guard jump was weak, it would have been in range.
Yeah.
So unless he got the
That
extremely unfortunate
infamous,
5% Icy Wind miss,
yeah, the infamous icy wind
yeah,
miss. Then it would have been GG.
yeah, then it would have been GG. But like that was the near guaranteed way to go victory, right?
Yes.
Instead, he switched to the Tornadoes hard on the guard chomp
Yes.
and had to eat a scale shot. And DRV has to thank Arceus for the fact that that scale shot only got 4 hits. Because if it got 5 hits, the Tornadoes would have gone down and the Hydrapple would have died as well.
Yes.
So he took a massive gamble with that and could have lost the game from it. But luckily, because luck was on his side and scale shot only hit 4 times, he was able to take the Garchomp out with
Nice.
Tornadoes instead.
There you go. Yes, that's I did not know specifically what happened, but actually it's funny that now that I'm hearing that story, um, that reminds me very well. I'm sure he was when he was saying choke again, he was alluding to what happened in his game versus me, of course.
Yep.
And actually, it's funny because now that you described that scenario, that is almost a mirror scenario of what happened in the game with me and him. It's
No,
like
literally,
yes,
that's what makes it so funny.
yeah, and he's like, fortunately for him, he didn't pay for it quite as much as he did the last time. But yeah, that is an interesting turn of events. I think it's one of those things where like in the heat of the moment, I think sometimes you kind of lose sight and you maybe make a play that if you had like if you had a little more time to think about it, you would think, "Oh, wait, this is a bad idea. I shouldn't do this," you know. But in the heat of the moment, you're just like, "Oh, we have to do this," you know, and it comes back to bite you in the ass. And again, not to harp about my own game as we haven't got to it yet, but I certainly know how that feels. I'll put it that way. So, um,
So
so yeah, it
again,
does
I'm
happen.
just reading the chat between the two of us. I'm not sure if that was exactly what happened, but it was basically that idea, like the scale
Gotcha.
shot Garchomp miss, and then that was he nearly threw it, man. That was scary. I was holding my breath as I was watching it.
It does happen, man. It's like you make a move in the moment and it doesn't work out all the time. That's for sure. So, but that is going to bring us to our next matchup here, and that is going to be Raymond taking on Zach Mander, two coaches who have had very solid seasons for themselves to this point. And as you can see, it was actually Zach Mander that took the victory over Raymond in this match, which some may consider an upset. But I got to be honest with you, I don't know. So maybe on paper, when you consider how successful Ray has been in this league versus, Zach Mander is a newcomer to this league, it may be considered an upset. But I have been a big believer in Zach Mander's team and his ability this entire season. So this was not a huge shock to me, but he did take a narrow yet commanding 2-0 victory over Raymond here. And certainly the Gliscor put in some work in this one. That Terra Gliscor, which is just a massive threat, and the Reggie Drago, I think came through for him as well. But it was a pretty evenly balanced matchup for all parties. I don't see any Pokemon that really ran away with the game too much, but Terra Gliscor grabbed 2 kills and didn't die. So, but I will say I'm not as great of a player I think Ray is. I think Zach Mander definitely proved that he can hang in this game.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't consider this game an upset either, but not necessarily because of the coaches involved, more so the matchup. I think Zach Miller had a really, really good matchup on in this game. And I mean, just look at the Pokemon, right? We have like Jirachi, Samurott, Superior, Terapagos, all right, right. And then we have this whole team of like Ubers, like high round picks. Like this, it's funny because in the words of Ray's own thinking, this was like an RU versus Ubers game, or at
Yes.
least that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And I remember Ray going in with the mindset of, oh, I'm probably going to lose this one. I'm going to try my best. And he was genuinely content with losing 2-0. I remember he was not upset at all
Yeah.
because of how outmatched he felt. Now, one thing I do want to say, and I think this is reflected in the standings as well, he brought the Samurott for the first time this week, the regular Unova Samurott, which by the way was which by the way named after me because I love it so much. Thank you for that,
There
Ray.
you go.
He brought a Terra Ghost Vacuum Wave Terra Blast Samurott to this game, which 1v1'd the Zamazenta Crown. And I
Interesting.
just gotta say, 1v1ing a normally banned 20-point Uber with your like what 3-pointer is phenomenal, right? And I honestly love to see that.
Yes.
Um, Basically exactly as he planned it to. And the Terra Blast Ghost in general, obviously Zach Mender's only real switch into that is Chi Yu, but Chi Yu is weak to water. So unironically, the Samurott was actually really, really strong here. Now, as you kind of alluded to earlier, Terra Gliscor was a big, big threat in this game. And funnily enough, the Gliscor was Terra Ghost as well.
Yeah.
Um, and unfortunately, I think Raymond got caught off guard by the fact not only that this thing was Terra Ghost, but also that it had Terra Blast. So it
Yeah.
was able to outspeed the Samurott, and like it was Terra Ghost Gliscor versus Terra Ghost Samurott, and one outsped the other with their
Terra
respective Terra
Blast.
Blast and
Yeah.
KO dates. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a Terra Blast face off.
Yeah.
So I think that's what ultimately ended up costing Ray. And it was a really really tough matchup for him on paper.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely well fought by both coaches. It was a very very enjoyable game to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Ray was honestly just like outmatched in terms of team in this one, but he still did the best. And again, I love seeing Samurott put in work, man. That was
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, no, that was cool to watch for sure. This to see, anytime you can see like a lower tier Pokemon go toe to toe with an Uber, it is pretty cool. Um, I do think I do think that's the thing with Zach Mander's team, right? Is it is so top heavy. You have all these, and I mentioned this before, but you have all these top heavy hitters. Like you've got that Zamazenta Crown, the Chi Yu, the Terra Gliscor, the Deoxys Speed. It's so many good Pokemon, obviously, um, and it is hard to because like I think the thing is, even if you have a lot of high point value Pokemon, you may not be able to like fit in bringing them every single week because of type matchups or your opponent's team or whatever. But I think Zach Mander's been pretty consistent as far as like most of the time he usually brings his top threats to most games and they all fit pretty well together. So he I think has been able to do as well as he has this season by simply just overpowering people with that core like four Pokemon that are just so strong and you know this wasn't I think an example of that for sure. So Ray,
Yeah,
definitely go ahead.
yeah, definitely. I agree with you what he said. And the funny thing as well is that he's been piloting the Pokemon really well. Because one thing in this game that also kind of set Ray back early was the lead. Because he Ray expected an Ogerpon Cornerstone or Deoxys Speed lead, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because these two
Sure.
Pokemon are phenomenal leads.
Yeah.
So he led with his Jirachi that was like built in such a way that could take them both on. But then Zach Mender led with an eject pack Chi Yu,
Yeah.
which could fire off a free overheat. And even if you go into Assault Vest the Azumarill, which is about the textbook answer as Chi Yu as it gets, you still get the momentum, right? And then he was able to go into Ogerpon and start pressuring from there. And I will say, Ogerpon Cornerstone, despite like only getting one kill, it did put a lot of pressure onto Ray's team this game in general. So yeah, Zach Mender definitely knows how to pilot these mons and use them effectively, and that was a really, really strong lead from his part.
Absolutely, 100%. So definitely hats off to him for that. So, but moving to our next game, that is going to bring us to Cody versus the notorious HYM once again. And so another game that I have a vested interest in, of course, for obvious reasons, which we will see. Two coaches, like I said, HIM not having the greatest of seasons. Cody, a little bit of a mixed bag. But as you can see, Cody really came through in this game when he needed to the most, scoring a huge 5-0 victory over HIM. And it was that Terra Orthworm that really put a lot of work in this game. I believe Iron Jugulus is also a Terra captain of his as well. Um, but yeah, those two Pokemon really carried this game for Cody in this match versus HIM.
Absolutely. It's interesting as well because we haven't seen this game yet. I believe HIM is working on an upload for it, but we have not
Yeah,
seen it yet. Obviously, the man is busy, and we completely understand.
of course. Yes.
But yeah, I do hope we get to see this game. But I'm honestly like I'm looking at this matchup, and I'm sitting here like, how did Orthworm do that? Because obviously Orthworm has a really good matchup into Baxcalibur and Mimikyu. Like especially Mimikyu literally can't touch Orthworm.
Yeah.
And Excadrill as well actually. But like how does the Typhlosion not just melt that thing? How does it ever break through Zapdos? Like
I
I'm
think
I'm a little bit
Yeah, so I think I
Sorry,
was
go on.
reading a little bit of the chat after this match because I think they talked about it a little bit, and I think I forget what it was, but I believe he did Terra the Orthworm this week. I think that was how it, and I don't. I think he might have had Terra Blast for coverage, so I think that may have been how he was able to um, punch through those other threats. But yeah, I seem to recall reading something about Cody saying, singing the praises of Terraing the Orthworm this week. So
Was it maybe Terra Rock?
I
Because
was
that's the
that's
way
what
it
I
can
was gonna
break
say.
through
It might
most
have
of the
been it
Pokemon.
might have been yeah, because it would break through both of those Pokemon in that situation. So yeah, that would make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I do recall seeing that he was a big fan. And I will say, I've used Terra Orthworm before in this league, and I did like it. It was solid, but it seems like he really positioned it for success in this match. So yeah, if we
Yeah,
don't,
absolutely. Although I will say, just looking at the team preview, HIM did kind of look outmatched once again, right? I really hate to say
yeah,
it, but like, first of all, Iron Jugulus, where's
yeah,
the Dark Switch in? Like, that's a really, really tough thing with HIM's team. He's got, like, Mimikyu is obviously, Ghost Fairy is one of the best type combinations ever in Pokemon. That's why Fluttermane is so broken.
yeah.
But you do have a Fairy type that does not resist Dark, so a Dark Ball switcher was not exist in this game. And we also had no Ghost resist. So I mean, Dragapult didn't have any kills, but if Dragapult was Specs or something, it could have also gone crazy. So even just like you always say, type chart wise, HM looked very outmatched this match.
Indeed, indeed, I would agree with that. So. Um, But yeah, I can't say too much else about that one without having seen it. So that leaves one game and one game only to discuss. And so this is the moment we've all been waiting for, I'm sure. So that is me versus Brandon P, of course. And so, all right. so so going into this matchup, I will say this: when I was preparing for this game, I thought that I acknowledged the fact that this was a super super important game for me because again, it's kind of been a mixed season for the Pidgeys here. We've had some success, we've had some setbacks, but kind of riding the line the entire season, and I felt like okay, if I can do well enough in this game that can set me up to finally maybe like break through the riding the line and I can finally jump over to like the winning side of the line if I can just make it happen in this game. So I did spend a good amount of time preparing for this game, and in hindsight, I will say that I actually don't regret my prep for this game. I think my prep was actually pretty good. I brought the weakness policy Ting Lu again, although it did not play a factor, which we will discuss. Um, and I brought some other stuff that I thought was pretty solid. I'm trying to think of what did I bring. I brought the weakness policy Ting Lu was something I was particularly proud of, but I actually thought looking at the team preview that Iron Leaves could have actually done a lot of damage to his team in this match because I
Yes.
felt like he had very few answers because I will say full disclosure there were certain Pokemon that I was not I was not really expecting him to bring a couple of Pokemon that he did bring. um, namely the Masquerain was one that ended up being a huge negative for me in this one. But I thought Iron Leaves had a big opportunity to go in, and that's why I brought manual electric terrain on my Rotom because originally was trying to fit Pincurchin into the team, but then I decided it wasn't going to work, and so I was like, well, I want to take advantage of the Quark Drive, obviously, but um, I don't want to like have booster energy because I don't want to like lose my item because so booster energy is to me like I have mixed feelings about it because it's like an all or nothing item, right? So if you come in with your Pokemon, you pop your booster energy, you're pretty much shooting your shot at that point, and if you don't position yourself for success in that moment, like if you can't set up to go for game in that moment, like say you get phased out or it doesn't work or whatever, or you get out positioned, then it's a waste, right? So
Yeah, it's very interesting you mentioned that because I also feel like especially when compared to like standard like ladder play, I noticed that booster energies in general are a lot less good in draft, like you said, because of that one-time use.
yeah, so I was like, I had a what I thought was a pretty good strategy with Iron Leaves. So I don't regret my prep. And so we go into this game, and I'm feeling like I'm not sure how confident I'm feeling because I have not had good luck against Brandon historically in draft, that's for sure.
Oh,
Um,
believe me, no one does. There's a reason Heal Brandon exists.
yes, exactly. So, oh, just wait, it's coming. So, so the first turn, I'd say, we talked earlier. We talked about feeling like you're just making all the wrong calls, right? And so I've talked about that before. And so in the opening moment of this match, I made probably the only decision in this game that I thought that looking back on it was a smart decision, and that was I lead Rotom, he leads Ogerpon Wellspring, right? And I'm like, okay, so
Terrible position for you.
exactly, so awful lead, but I'm like, okay, if he sets up and I just let him set up for free by hard switching, I am screwed. So I don't want to do that. So I ended up staying in with the Rotom and attacking, ends up getting a crit and knocking the Wellspring into red HP turn one as he swords dances. So I'm like, okay, that's great. Now I can bring something in and try to like pressure him, get the keep the momentum going in my favor. I feel like that move of staying in with the Rotom turn one was literally the only correct decision I made in this entire play. Literally the only correct decision I made in this entire game. So I feel like
That's tough because like that was
yeah,
a phenomenal play. I gotta give
yes,
hats off because like in my mind it's like I see an Ogerpon Wellspring lead. I don't expect a lead Ogerpon to just swords dance right off the bat. Like I expect
yeah,
it to either just attack or maybe pivot with U-turn or start laying spikes. I would not have taken the risk of letting that thing power whip me and take me out turn one, especially because I'm gonna throw a little shade here, but you're no stranger to seeing Rotom Wash get popped turn one. Um,
yes. Well, you're not
but like
wrong.
so like but like I would not have made the play that you did, but it worked out phenomenally. So like
Yes,
hats off for making that read.
yes. But unfortunately, it was all downhill from there. So, um,
Quote
so
unquote
y-
unfortunate.
yes, indeed. So I did come in with Spectrier, which I thought was not a terrible decision because I needed something that I could guarantee to outspeed that thing, and either force it out or take it down. But then so I'm trying to think. I'm gonna try to go in chronological order, but I might make a mistake here as far as like the mistakes that I made. So I think the first big mistake that I made was I was kind of going back and forth. So the Masquerain came in, right, and so it came in, and the turn that I think I pivoted out, and so I kind of had like a free choice to decide what I should have come in with to face it. And so my first big mistake was that I should have come in with something that would have put more immediate pressure on Masquerain than Gudra, because I think I elected to come in with Gudra on the Masquerain, and I think that was a huge mistake because it allowed him to get up a free sticky web. So I knew that, like, when I saw, obviously when you see Masquerain, you know what it's going to do. It's going to sticky web, obviously. But I I I don't even want to say that I underestimated the effect that Sticky Web would have on my team, because I knew full well that it was going to be huge. That Sticky Web was going to be huge. I actually thought, this was one of the few weeks going in that I actually thought Spectrier had like a pretty decent time outside of, like, I think Porygon Z, which was one of his Terra captains that he didn't even end up bringing to the match. So
I guess Brandon's team has no dark types.
yeah,
So.
exactly. So when I saw he didn't bring Porygon and his only answer to Spectrier was Terra Normal Mew, I was like, okay, like Spectrier could actually. It hasn't really popped off all season, quite honestly, because people see it coming and they can prep for it, and that's, it is what it is. Um, but I thought that, if I could play around that, I could probably actually pop Spectrier off for the first time, and unfortunately, that is not the case. So letting him get the webs up was mistake number one for sure. I should have. I actually. It's funny. I don't know if anyone noticed this when I had Iron Leaves in, but I actually had taunt on Iron Leaves specifically to stop something like that from happening. And so, sure, it would have been like an enormous risk to taunt that Masquerain with Iron Leaves, knowing that I could just die to any bug move unless I tear it, of course. But that, in hindsight, like, that should have been the play. Is I should have made a more aggressive play that would have denied sticky webs 100% of the time, and so I didn't do that. So that was the first mistake. The second mistake, which was a little more obvious, I think, was I had a situation where Rotom was in against Golurk. So first and foremost, I think I certainly shouldn't have left Rotom in on Golurk to take the first attack and leave it with like low HP, but beyond that, so I have a deadly 50-50 choice to make, right? Because he's still got the Golurk is obviously immune to electric, and he's got the Ogerpon Wellspring in the back that's immune to water, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he either switches to Ogerpon Wellspring to get the water absorbed to get HP back, which I really didn't want to happen because I was like, that's to me that was almost like worst case scenario because I didn't want him to heal the Ogerpon Wellspring to the point that it could then take like either a bullet punch from Scizor or it could like survive an entry hazard when it switches in. So I was like, I don't want to do that because I don't want the Ogerpon Wellspring to become viable again. And so I guess I was so concerned about making the wrong choice of the deadly 50-50 that I chose to make an even worse decision, which was like the just set the manual electric terrain. And so like yeah, I was oh man, I don't know what I was thinking there. I guess I was too scared to click a button that would have like screwed me one way or another. So I screwed myself because I am confident that there is not a chance in hell that Golurk would have lived a hydro pump. Um,
No, absolutely not.
but so I should have just gone for the hydro pump. But I even would have been like more it would have been smarter of me to click Volt Switch because even if he stays in with the Golurk, I get nothing out of that exchange. Rotom goes down. I wouldn't have been encouraged to come in with Iron Leaves to try and make the most of the electric terrain, which was the next mistake I made, which is instead of trying to get the Sticky Web off the field with Scizor, which I should have done, then I came in with Iron Leaves to try and make the most of the electric terrain. And so then it was just all downhill from there. He gets the read into Masquerain.
Wait,
Uh,
what's Scizor? You didn't even bring Scizor this game.
no, I did. No, I had Scissor. Because
Did
it,
you? Wait,
yeah, it died to a
am I
Pyro
looking at the
Ball.
wrong?
Yeah, you're
Wait,
dying.
did I put the? Oh yeah, you did. Wait, I put it wrong in the dock. Then what the heck? Wait,
Yeah,
hold on.
no, that's okay. So yeah, I you must be looking at the wrong week there, but yeah, so I
Oh, because Brandon put it in wrong. Brandon put in. Wait, which one did you not bring then? Wait, huh?
technical difficulties
Okay,
again.
I'll fix it. Sorry, keep
No,
talking.
that's okay. That's okay. So then I ended up coming in with Scizor.
Oh, I put Spectre twice. That's why. Whoops. There we
There
go.
you go. So
Scizor. Okay, fixed.
there you go. Well, they both start with S, so you know. Um, so, yeah. So then I come in. I had Scizor in, and he ended up pivoting out into Cinderace, and this was the next colossal mistake I made. So because I lost Rotom so early, I didn't really have like. I still had switches to Cinderace, right? Like I had Gudra I could have switched in. I had Tinglu I could have switched in, but I was like, the fire move is so obvious. I just don't think he's gonna go for it. And then he goes for it, and Scizor gets cooked, and Webs are on the board for the rest of the game. And I'm like, okay, terrible move number 3 already. So,
Oh yeah, I feel
you
that.
know,
Okay, it's really funny
yeah,
while you're talking about these. Okay, so I'm just noticing an extremely close parallel.
yes.
If you don't mind, we recap a little bit. So
Please
you
go ahead.
had a Rotom form in against a ground type, and you are worried about making the incorrect play, so you make the safest neutral ground play that you can possibly make, which
Yes,
ends up being a pretty terrible move. I
yes.
have this exact situation against Al in week 7 with my Rotom against his Ursaluna, where I really wanted to click Volt Switch because I know he's threatened out by Leaf Storm, but I am afraid of him either going Corviknight, lowering my special attack with Leaf Storm, or aggressively staying in and eating my Volt Switch. So I end up clicking Reflect, which ends up being absolutely useless and I lose momentum from it. And that is
Yep.
exactly what happened with this electric terrain situation too. I only
Yep.
just realized that, but I thought it was a very funny parallel because it's both two
Yes.
Rotoms, two ground types on the other side,
Yep.
and we both made terrible mid-ground plays.
Yep, you are not wrong, sir. You are not wrong, and that is exactly what it was. And that is a very good parallel. It's a very great parallel. I agree with you. So, yeah, that happened, and so at that point, I was because so then it was kind of like a domino effect, right? Because after that happened, I didn't have like Rotom to potentially switch into Cinderace, which is kind of what I would have wanted to do. But I was like, well, I still, even in, so I can't even use that as a full excuse because, like, even in that situation, I could have switched in with Ting Lu, I could have switched in with Gudra, but I was like, the fire move is obvious, so let me just stay in the face of the fire type with Scizor, gets cooked.
Yeah,
And at that point,
it's
yeah,
sorry, go on.
I was gonna say at that point in the match, that was when kind of like I know it was still like I still had 4 Pokemon, but like I felt like all hope was lost at that point because I had realized that I had made like three really critical bad decisions all in a row, and I felt like I was so far behind that inevitably I would end up losing the game anyway at that point.
Yeah.
So
Well, again, it's like at that point, I don't really can't really blame you for it because it's like you're literally behind, right? And like Ogerpon Wellspring in particular is literally known, like even in OU, to be just a demon under webs. It's one of the best webs abusers in the meta.
yeah,
So like you're behind, you want to be making some plays, and you want to read that Cinderace going for U-turn so badly, right, to gain
yep.
some momentum back. But then it just clicks Pyro Ball and like memes you, and then it's like, oh my God, now I'm, and at that point you're just set even further back, and like going for a play like that in a situation where you need it to go right to even have a shot, and it goes horribly wrong. It's like at that point, like that's really demoralizing.
Yeah, I was kind of mentally checked out after that happened. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, okay, and I should have thought better of it too, because I should have thought, okay, I need Scizor to handle this Ogerpon Wellspring. I knew because I know it gets coverage for everything else except Scizor. So
Does
I,
not get a fire move.
yes, exactly, one of the like handful of Pokemon in Gen 9 that doesn't get a fire move somehow. But
Yeah, no, I imagine you feel that more than anyone with Scissor on your team multiple
uh,
seasons. You're like, what? Like it's one of those things. Like, why does Mimikyu get burning jealousy? Like, you stop
yes.
noticing
Stop.
stuff like
Yes,
that.
exactly. When I'm looking over these team previews, I'm just like, why does everything get like Fire Fang or like Burning Jealousy?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, come on, throw a
Yep.
bug a bone. Throw the metal bug a bone.
Hmm.
But yeah. So at that point, I was kind of like demoralized, and I was like, okay, maybe I can get something going, right? Like maybe I can. I wasn't expecting to win after that happened because I also lost my hazard control too when Scissor went down. So in hindsight, I should have. That was the worst play of the game because I never should. Even worse than the Rotom play, even though that was a close second. Because I should have realized that Scizor was far too valuable to risk in that moment because Ogerpon Wellspring dies to a bullet punch or Rocky Helmet damage, which Scizor had. It's my only way to get sticky webs off the field, so it was far too reckless of a play to make at that moment. So that was 100% on me for doing that. But then after that, I finally get my head on straight, and then here come the hacks. So, unfortunately, as soon as I get my head on straight from misplaying horribly, then we have a situation where I have, I think it was Ting Lu. I had to switch Ting Lu in on Ogerpon Wellspring because I was like, okay, Ting Lu guaranteed lives unless he's like I think the only way Ting Lu doesn't live is I think with the EV spread I had him critting me was I think the only way I die to one singular attack from Ogerpon with Ting Lu because I know I live Ivy Cudgel Water um, but unfortunately he goes for the I think he go for the Ivy Cudgel I don't even remember if it was the Ivy Cudgel or
He
the
did
Play
go for
Rough
he did go for Ivy Cudgel, yeah. And
because
like I
yeah
guess the only thing there is like Ivy Cudgel does have an increased chance to crit. I think it's one in 8 chance to crit.
does it
So
okay
unfortunately against Ogerpon you do sometimes literally have to try and take into account the possibility of a crit. Now obviously you literally
yeah
couldn't here because it's like you're backed against the wall.
yes so
But that really so that obviously sucked, but like it is an Ivy Cudgel, so it
yes
unfortunately it does happen.
a high increased crit rate. I gotcha. Yeah, so not quite as unlikely as a normal move, but still like I was at that point I was just like come on. I was just like come on, man. Like what
Yeah,
else has
throw
to
me a bone.
happen? Yes. So I lose Ting Lu to a crit. And then the final kick in the pants was I come in with Gudra and I'm like, okay, the best he can do is play rough me, right? I EV'd this Gudra so that I think it ended up being like with the little bit of chip damage that I took, he needed a max damage roll with the play rough to kill the Gudra, and he got it. And I was it was like a
Oh God.
6.3% max damage roll that was needed to kill the Gudra with play rough. And at that point, I was like, okay, I just like if I could just like take my console and like turn it off and like donate it to charity like this is the moment like it's over at this point like I'm hanging up the Pokemon like I'm hanging it up like it's over like because I was just like come on like the like so the I know I've been rambling about this game, so I'm going to wrap it up. And the moral of the story in the 5-0 loss here to Brandon was simply this: is that I made a lot of bad decisions early in the game that cost me, that put me behind the eight ball, and then those hacks toward the end of the game, I was just like that was the nail in the coffin, where I was just like, yeah, there's this is I said it before in the chat, but I will say it in I'll say it again. To me, that was like the worst side of Pokemon. It's like you make all the wrong plays, then you get hacked, and you're just like, ah, this is the worst. Like I
Yeah.
literally feel like there was nothing. Like I usually try to find some silver lining about games because I don't like to be pessimistic, but I don't think that there was any silver lining in that game for me. I don't feel like, because I felt like I prepped
Oh,
well.
hey, the phenomenal play turn one at least. That's one thing you
I
can.
guess if we want to call it, yeah, that I guess that's the,
And
but
you can
yeah.
have the reassurance that I would not have made that play, but it worked out.
Well,
That's the
thanks.
only thing.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. But it's like I feel like I prepped well, and then in practice it just all went to shit. And I don't even like I honestly don't even know what I was thinking like when I made some of those plays. Like I don't even know what I was thinking. But that is what happens, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah,
Yep,
that was the bitter end. So
indeed. Unfortunate decision making. Brandon made the risk of bringing obviously a very otherwise low tier opponent in the Masquerain. Managed to upkeep the webs through some decision making, and yeah,
yep.
you unfortunately had to pay the price for it. And I will say the only other big positive thing is if there was one Pokemon you could get a kill with, it had to be the Leaf Agents mascot,
Sure,
and I
there
appreciate
you
that.
go. I did score a kill with the iron. I made one. I guess that was one okay read that I made. Is I side bladed on the incoming Masquerain and took it out. So I guess that was because he caught me once with trying to go for a leaf blade and came in with Masquerain, did nothing. So he tried it again, and this time I caught him with a side blade and took him out. But it was that was the only KO I grabbed was the iron leaves. Yeah. So yeah, but that's pretty much all
Good
I
to see.
got to say about that. So a
And a
bitter
tough one
end, yes. So, but as you
for,
know,
for both of
I
us
was gonna
this week,
say,
for both of us.
it's super ironic that this is the week that we're having this when both of us are kind of like down in the gutter over pretty awful loss.
Yeah,
So,
like could you not have had me last week when I got a 4-0 and a 6-0?
I know, right? It's funny how that works out. Trust me when I say
Yeah,
I don't plan.
this week it's the reverse.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that will wrap the week 8 games, and that will of course bring us to, if this thing wants to load, which would be nice. There we go. So that is going to bring us to the standings in the BHDL post week 8. So, as you can see, leading the charge, we have Al, first place, the only 7-1 record in the league, plus 20 differential. Um, he is guaranteed to make playoffs. So hats off to him. He is in the driver's seat, as I like to say. So um, followed closely though by we have DRV and Zach Mander, both with 6-2 records, solid differentials. They are both at this point guaranteed to make playoffs as well. So definitely hats off to both of those guys for playing well and securing that coveted playoff spot. Now this is where it gets tricky. So I know we've experienced this in I want to say all the way back in season 2 of the BHDL. We've experienced like sort of an anything can happen situation. Um, but I think aside from what we saw in season 2, this is quite possibly the the next best example of like going into week 9, almost anything can happen, right? So
Absolutely.
so we have those top 3 coaches. They are guaranteed to make playoffs no matter what. On the flip side of the spectrum, we actually do have 6 coaches at this point that are mathematically eliminated from making playoffs, and those would be if you skip to the bottom. We've got Emerald Miner with that 3-5 record. Funny enough, got a +3 differential despite having
Three differential, yeah.
yeah,
So funny.
despite having -2 games wins to losses. Still has a positive
Same
differential.
same differential as Brandon, who's got 2 more wins.
I know, right? Yeah, and even higher than King Burra, who has 2 more wins too. So it's
Yeah, exactly.
higher than myself and Cody with 1 more win. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting statistic right there. But you've also got Stefan 2-6, Twisted 2-6, Pokemaster 2-6, HIM 2-6, and Arcaniner 1-7. So all those coaches, unfortunately, their seasons are over at this point. So, from a numbers perspective, the interesting part is this: those other seven, I believe it is, coaches. Yes. So spots 4 to spots 10. So those seven coaches right there. I crunched the numbers, and mathematically, hypothetically speaking, any combination of those seven coaches, 5 out of 7 of those coaches could make playoffs. As crazy as that sounds, it is true. No one, not
Right.
even Ray with the highest differential on that list, is technically safe from not making playoffs next week. And here's why. So, the biggest differential obviously you can get in a game is 6-0, right? So if you 6-0 your opponent, obviously that's the biggest differential you can get. Now if you add 6 and 6, because there's a lot of factors at play. So take the people who are on the outside looking in right now. That's myself and Cody. Um, if Cody, hypothetically, let's take best case scenario with Raymond. If Cody, and actually Cody versus Raymond is scheduled for week 9, which may be one of, if not the most important games going into week 9, because if Cody ends up scoring like a big 5-0 or 6-0 victory over Ray's differential might actually drop low enough that he gets edged out, provided I win and provided that, obviously at that point, Cody would have beaten Ray. So that's kind of crazy if you think about it, to think that.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, so
Obviously, highly
hypothetically,
unlikely, but it could happen.
yes. Now, I'm not talking about likelihood, yes, because certainly the odds of Ray getting 6-0'd by anyone are very low. However, let's say for argument's sake it happens. Let's say Ray gets 6-0'd. That drops his differential from +8 to +2, right? Cody wins that 6-0. That raises his differential to +5. So Cody's ahead of him. And then say I manage to win and my differential goes higher than Ray's, right? Like if I win, say, 6-0 as well, my differential goes to +5. Not saying it's going to happen, but if it does, but let's manifest it. Let's all cross our fingers and manifest it. No. but but in that scenario, Ray, even with a 5-4 record with a +2 differential, say everyone else wins, say Burrow wins, you win, Lazy Boy wins, Brandon wins, he actually does get edged out in that scenario. So like it is a really anything can happen sort of scenario, and I honestly I think it's going to be crazy. I think there are certainly coaches that are more heavily favored to make it at this point. Like obviously Ray with his bigger differential, definitely more favored to make it. You're not far behind him either, so definitely more in your favor. Um, I would sum it up by dividing those coaches into two groups. So for Ray, yourself, Lazy Boy, Brandon, and King Burra, they're on the inside right now. So if any of you guys win, you're just in. You're winning in. Like it's done at that point. Like there's nothing myself or Cody can do to catch you guys to take your spots. But if any singular one of you happen to lose, that opens the door for myself or Cody or both of us actually to sneak in and take those final spots. So it is a very anything can happen type of situation, and yeah, it's a wild thing to think.
Absolutely. This is even a situation where, because you and Cody have both 4-4 records, we might even potentially get the otherwise practically unseen decider here, which is where the person who has the biggest or best KD on any one of their given Pokemon on their team actually is the one that breaks the tie. And if I'm looking at the standings here, I actually see that Cody's Okie Dokie is currently 9-3, so that gives it a +6 KD. And unfortunately, none of your Pokemon are anywhere to be seen here, so that would give that would give Cody the advantage in that spot.
I actually meant to ask you about this, and I think now is the perfect time to do it. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I thought head to head factored in before Pokemon with the highest kill differential, or am I
Oh
mistaken?
no, no, you are correct. Sorry, I'm forgetting about that.
So
Yeah, because
so
it's
actually,
record, then differential, and then head to head. And because you and Cody played and you won, then you would get over it in on him. Yeah, sorry. The kill leader thing is the
Is the
last thing
last
if
one,
the
yes.
coaches did not play
Yes, so
that
actually,
season.
sir, I have a bone to pick with you because I
No, no,
enlisted
you are absolutely
lower
correct.
than
In
Cody.
in my defense, it is nearly
Cons
11 p.m. over here.
conspiracies afoot. I knew it. I knew it. It was an inside job. No, I'm just kidding. But yes,
No, no,
so
you are 100% correct. So you would get in that situation.
yes, so that is the one thing that I have going for me over Cody. Like if it came right down to it, I do have the head to head over Cody. So if we have the same differential and the same record, I would edge him out. Now, who knows how likely, like, that's just another factor. Like, I haven't even looked into, like, because that could factor in for any one of these coaches. Like, Brandon has the head to head over me. I have the head to head over, I'm trying to think of who else. I don't think I have the head to head over any of you have the head to head over me. So if we were in a situation where we had the same record and same differential, so it's going to be really interesting to see who wins and who makes it and who gets edged out. I'm very interested. I'm very nervous because I want to make it, but I am very interested to see how this shakes out. So
Must not be easy sitting in the like just outside of the playoffs, just outside your grasp, but then or yeah, like not quite. You need a lot of
yes,
things to go your way this week, and so does
that
Cody.
that is, yeah. We are not in an enviable positions, and that is one of the reasons why that loss to you may have noticed I spent a lot of time grinding on that loss to Brandon moments ago, and that was probably the bigger reason than just because it was a loss, but because I understood like how important that game was to me, and so to play as badly as I did really sucks because because
Oh,
that
I
put
feel
me
it. I
yes
feel it, brother. My differential last week went from +11 to +5.
yeah
I was completely safe. I thought I was safe to make playoffs, but now I'm actually in the danger zone myself.
yeah
Not as much as you, but still.
yes exactly so yeah you know how it goes so but yeah it is, yeah. That's why I spent so much time grinding on that loss. I think is because yeah, that is the boat we are in. So and it's funny because we could spend all this time hypothesizing about these situations, but if all of you guys like if you Ray, Lazy, Brandon, and King Burrow all win your games, then it's all a moot point anyway because there's nothing Cody and I can do to catch you. But statistically speaking, I will say this: statistically speaking, there exists the possibility that at least one of you will lose those games. So, and obviously there's varying possibilities as to I don't know why I said Cody played Ray because I was out of my mind when I said that. So never mind. I'm just looking at the week 9
Yeah.
and I don't
Well,
know why I thought Cody
Ray
played
and
Ray.
Lazy Boy play,
Yes,
so one of them is
that's
going to lose for sure.
yes. So that is actually going to be a big one to watch. So yeah, there's that one. And then I think all of the other matchups are between either people who are out or people who are um, in like the other matchups are important for one coach but not the other coach is what I'm trying to say. So
Exactly. Like
uh,
you have King Bra versus Stefan, important from King Bra, but Steph's out. You have myself versus Twisted. Obviously, Twisted's already out. Emerald and Chris are both out, so that one doesn't really. That one's just for fun. Al and DRV going to be fighting for first place actually, so that's going to be an
yes,
interesting one. Obviously, they can't knock each other out, but it will determine who gets to choose their opponent first. Then
yes,
we had Ray and Lazy Boy, obviously. Cody and Arcanine, big game for Cody. It doesn't matter for Arcanine anymore. You versus Zachmander also going to be the fight of your life for your playoff spot, but Zachmander can probably afford it. And then Brandon versus HIM, also again not important for HIM because he's locked out. But Brandon needs to win that game to be in.
yes, absolutely. So yeah, there you have it. That is the breakdown for week 9. So yeah, it's going to be a wild ride, man. And fingers crossed. That's all I can say. But
Indeed.
um,
Good luck everyone with their matches next week. Honestly, I'm excited to see them.
Indeed, exactly. Everybody except Zach Mander. Good luck. Wow, what was that? I think I just got some feedback on the. Must have more technical difficulties. No, but
Must have been the wind.
yes, it must have been the win. No, but seriously, yes. Good luck and good game to everyone. We hope it's going to be the final send off of the regular season this upcoming week. So can't wait to see it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got to say about that. Any closing thoughts there, Scorpion?
Indeed, very tough season. I think many people will call this the most cutthroat, most competitive season of BHDL. Every single team was strong. Every single coach was to be respected. And yeah, it's honestly kind of, as someone who's dominated the last 2 seasons he's been, it's honestly kind of almost a refreshing feeling in a way to actually have to fight for my own spot as well. So I really appreciate how much everyone's been trying this season. Been a wild ride. And yeah, I can't wait to see how Week 9 unfolds. So yeah, I think we are about to close it off. So thank you, Kat, for having me. It was a real pleasure. And indeed, good luck in everyone, or sorry, good luck to everyone in their final playoffs push.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah, that'll do it. So thanks for watching again, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, and/or subscribe if you did enjoy, and stay tuned for more new videos in the future. Of course, coming your way within the next few days will be the Week 9 games. So all eyes will be on that. Is going to be the fight of our lives for many, and yeah, can't wait to see how it unfolds. So, once again, thank you to my guest Scorpion for coming on and providing his insight into these big matchups these past 2 weeks, and insight as well into the final week. So, thank you for that.
Been a pleasure. You're very welcome, and glad to have been here.
Indeed. All right, so that is it, and we'll see you next time.